Hello, everybody. We are live. It is Sunday, April 26th, 2026 at 11:01 a.m. Eastern Time. Yes, I am going live on a Sunday. You'll learn more about why that is in a few days. But today we're just going to need to talk about some David updates. Now, all kind of stuff has happened since last we spoke. And some of this stuff is going to be new news that kind of just broke. Some of this stuff is going to be stuff y'all might have heard from other people talking about over the last couple of days. And then some of it is going to be a little bit of my own speculation and theories. We're going to be talking about recent interviews that Steve Fischer, the investigator, did on various platforms. We're going to be talking about some of the specific claims and allegations that he made having to do with maybe what the parents were already aware of, etc. We're also going to talk about a copycat theory that I did see on another fellow YouTuber's channel, True Crime with Strategic Eyes. Now, probably 80% of the stuff he said in that video, I myself had already said publicly. I'm not saying he got it from me by any means, but I'm just saying like, okay, yeah, got it. But then about 20% of that video absolutely blew my mind. Okay, so we're going to be talking about that, and I am going to put y'all on to him and show you where I saw it and all that. So if you are here, one of the first 146 people in the chat, please do hit that like, hit that subscribe button. It really helps to get this brand new channel off the ground. We are just entering into the second month of this brand new live stream channel, and it's going swimmingly. So if y'all could just, do some engagement of whatever sort, that'd be very helpful. Thank you. Okay, so first things first, where do I want to start today? I have this up first, so we'll just go here. I do have Steve Fischer with Gideon. Now, if y'all don't know who this guy is right here, I truly have no idea how you don't know. I do think a lot of his audience is much substantially younger than the average age of my audience. The average age of my audience is about my age and older, maybe a few people within like 5-10 years younger than me range, but then like I really don't have any like super young like viewers. But I think Gideon, he is definitely my cousin. He even goes by DeMarcus Cousins the third, so he even goes ahead and puts cousin in his, I mean, he's trying to act like, DeMarcus Cousins. There's whole lore behind him, but he has millions of subscribers. And the way that he started out, and I'm just giving you all a little bit of context on like why is Steve Fischer interviewing with him, or why would he be? First of all, he has lots and lots and lots of subscribers, millions. And in addition to that, he used to do like in his first earlier days on YouTube, he did like prank content, but now he really does primarily focus on going out and catching predator PDF files. He works with decoys. He kind of runs like a to catch a predator type operation, and he gets these guys. Sometimes it's women, but most videos I think I've ever seen from him, especially, are just men. Just happens to break down that way, and he works with decoy people that pretty much they're adults and they're pretending to be not adults yet, and he helps get these people arrested. He goes and testifies if the cops or whatever do locally arrest the people that he finds. And so that's kind of currently his main thing right now. But in the last few weeks, he's also now started to go live and do live streams. And so he's kind of incorporated that into his work. And so in the last week or so, it does seem like Gideon has really picked up on this David story that, we've been covering on my various channels for, it feels like the greater part of a year at this point. But anyway, so Steve Fischer goes on there, and at some point during this live stream, there was like, 5,000 or even more people watching it. So I really do think it is a good thing. But this is a 1:38 clip from that live stream. It says, detective just went crazy on Gideon's stream about the David case, and everything might be flipped now. He says Celeste's family been knew David, and some of the family members, or at least one of them, even pulled up to David's house. Hence, there were money transactions between both sides. So, the full interview that Gideon did with Steve Fisher is about an hour long. Um, we're definitely not going to be watching all of that, but I figured we could at least hit up this 1 minute, 38-second clip because I found the financial transactions piece to be particularly intriguing.
Wait a minute. So she wasn't really missing. The missing, you know what? You want to know, in my opinion, what the missing persons report was about? It was to cover their ass so CPS didn't come in and say, "Hey, she's not going to school. What's up?" If she's a missing person, you say she's not going to the school because she's a missing person. Then you don't have CPS in your life at that moment. And I listen.
Okay, so a bold claim or suggestion by Steve Fisher is being made here. He's saying, look, Celeste might have been reported as a missing person. She might have been reported to the National Center for Missing and Exploited, whatnot, or whoever, but it ain't because she was really missing. That is to say, Steve Fisher seems to be suggesting Celeste's parents knew exactly where she was and exactly who she was with. So she wasn't missing as far as they were concerned. What Steve Fisher is suggesting is they went ahead and reported her missing because parents can get in trouble if their kids don't go to school. They can get in trouble with truancy officers. They can get in trouble with whatever, the actual law in some jurisdictions. And so Steve Fisher is saying, yeah, they reported her missing, but they knew exactly where she was. And they were just trying to basically stay out of trouble with the school or the school board or whatever. They were basically just trying to cover their asses. That's basically what Steve Fisher is implying here.
Garen, I know that they are. I know that they're grieving. I know they lost a daughter, but goddamn, like you could. She shouldn't have been allowed to be. She was gone a year and a half, man. She like a year and a half. Like somebody should have said, maybe we shouldn't be letting Celeste live her own life. There needs to be accountability.
Well, I'm with the charge. Could you see potential charges being pressed on the parents, or do you think that for press reasons?
Okay.
Yeah.
So the question is, obviously, do you think the cops are going to go after these parents? If what you're saying is true, that they were really not doing anything to protect their child, and instead they were just kind of like half-heartedly reporting her missing, but they knew where she was, could any of this get them in trouble? And here is what Steve Fisher has to say about that.
I think it's too high profile of a case, right? So they're going to say, "Oh shit, if we do that, we're going to have a certain amount of the people that are going to be like, I don't care if what they did is wrong. You got to give them some space because they're a grieving family." And they are. But they've also got to be like, "Hey, we messed up. We messed up." And listen, there's
part.
I think there's going to be financial transactions that come out in this if this goes to trial, they're going to show that there were people that were getting money, and it's going to look really, really bad.
Okay. I really hate to be the one to keep making this case circle back around to Diddy, okay? Because I have already faced a little bit of criticism for trying to make everything about Diddy, the Diddy case. But listen, in my defense, two things. First of all, Diddy's case is the first criminal trial that I personally followed in real time from the very first moment that there was a raid all the way through months and months later when there was an arrest, months and months later when he started going to pretrial hearings, and then I followed every day of the trial. And so it's the first high profile, but any criminal trial that I followed. So of course, I just obviously don't have a lot of other frames of reference. But second of all, in my defense, there's a lot of actual similarities in this case. Of course, Diddy wasn't accused or charged with unaliving someone. That isn't what I'm saying. But I'm talking about the fact that they both started very young in the music industry, about the fact that they live in very nearby neighborhoods to each other. They run in the same circles. They both are in big, huge names in the music industry. Both of them were widely reported to be participating in a lot of the same behaviors, and both of them are reported to have been participating in those behaviors specifically because of their SUL you-know-whats. And, whatever. I'm just going to keep drawing similarities where I see them, and forgive me that I haven't followed every single criminal case that there is, but this is my job. So 11, make a wish. Oh, I just caught that just in time and went to 12. 11, 12. But listen, do y'all remember, put a 1 in the chat if you remember when we were following that Sean P. Diddy Puff Daddy Combs trial every single day. And it was Cassie's mother, one of the alleged victims' mother, who testified. And she only testified for a very short time. I mean, it wasn't even like what she started in the morning and she was done by lunch or whatever. And she testified that, or excuse me, maybe it was Cassie's dad. It was either Cassie's dad or Cassie's mom. Excuse me, I don't remember. It was one of her parents. And they testified about how Diddy demanded money from them because Cassie cheated on him or broke up with him or something. There was some reason why Diddy was mad at Cassie. And Diddy reached out to Cassie's family, her family members, and said, give me, what was it, $25,000 or was it $10,000? I think it was $25,000. And Diddy was basically like, look, I've been taking care of your daughter all these years and she is not, doing me right, or whatever it was he was mad about. Maybe y'all remember exactly what it was that exact time that Diddy was so upset about that exact time. Maybe it was the Kid Cudi incident. Maybe it was something else. But essentially Diddy demanded like $25,000 or so. Okay, people are saying, yeah, remember 25,000. And they both did a hate crime to lighter skinned females. I mean, David's innocent till proven guilty. I'm not sure that what Diddy was actually convicted of counts as a hate crime, but that's, y'all are, allowed to pick up on patterns if you want to. And yes, and snaps of formation, yes. So, and what ended up happening, according to what came out at trial, of course, I don't know, I didn't check the bank records, I wasn't there. But what Cassie's parents said, or when her parents said on the stand, was that they had refinanced their home to take equity out of their home in the amount of the $25,000 so they could give the $25,000 to Diddy. So that was money going in one direction, right? So it was going from Cassie's parents, the supposed alleged victim's parents, over to in that case, Sean P. Diddy Puff Daddy Combs, which is the star, the famous guy who is now who is alleged to have been abusing a victim. Now, in the David case, we have a young person, much younger than, the alleged perpetrator, having the younger person live in his house. You have David having a young person living in his house. And now we have Steve Fischer saying people are going to be surprised if this goes to trial to see that there were some, he didn't say suspicious, but that's how I interpret it, suspicious financial transactions going both ways. Well, let's rewind again back to Diddy. What did Diddy eventually do with that $25,000 that came to him from Cassie's parents? What did he eventually do? He gave it back. He returned the $25,000, and there were financial transactions that came up at trial that appeared to corroborate that. And yeah, I mean, what connections to Diddy and with the whole Diddy story exist above and beyond like the obvious little comparable life details? Somebody could look into that as well. I mean, maybe one of y'all can let me know. Yeah, apparently, yeah, there was a lot of other stuff that had nothing to do with each other. Okay, so I don't want to make it seem like, okay, Diddy and David are the same. Of course, I'm not saying that, and I ain't trying to get sued by nobody, okay? I'm just saying there's some things that strike me as similar, and I think that it would be irresponsible not to at least take note of those things, those similarities, because these guys do operate in the same circles, okay? And just to be fair, I think a lot of this stuff also sounds similar to things that Vince McMahon, the owner of WWE, has been accused of. I think a lot of this sounds familiar to stuff that Mike Jeffries from Abercrombie & Fitch, the former CEO, has been accused of. I think a lot of it sounds similar in some details to things Jeffrey Epstein has been accused of. And everybody is innocent till proven guilty, but Jeffrey Epstein was convicted, at least, maybe pled guilty. I don't exactly remember. He got that sweetheart deal. But I only just say that to say, like, I'm not picking on anybody because of their race or their skin tone. Not because somebody said that too. Like, you're saying David and Diddy are the same because they're black. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Okay, so just so y'all are aware, no, I'm not. Diddy is just the first trial I happened to follow start to finish that was in the criminal world. Yes, there was, other high profile trials that I covered, but not the criminal trials. So they have the same motives, right? To financial gain, alleged motives. David's innocent until proven guilty. But yeah, anyway, I also think, and I have postulated this theory before to y'all, but I also think, and I'm going to start like, I don't know, maybe I'll start like a Psychic Visions segment of my show. Cause like a lot of my stuff that I've said ended up kind of like, not necessarily being disproven quite yet. So, um, Two snaps Z formation. You said it, cousin, not me. He said they're both bad black men, and this is coming from a black man. Exactly. Just because somebody's black don't mean they're bad. Duh. And so I think it's actually kind of racist for like y'all to accuse me of being racist just because two black men have something in common. Okay. Like obviously I'm not saying every black man is in this category. Thank you, cousin. Okay. Anyway, so I think this is almost the end of this particular clip, but this is really the part I really wanted y'all to hear.
Were people that were getting money,
Let me go back.
it's going to look really, really
I rewinded.
bad. I think there's going to be financial transactions that come out in this that are, if this goes to trial, they're going to show that there were people that were getting money, and it's going to look really, really bad.
Financial transactions going both ways. There's people that were getting money, and it's going to look really, really bad. Ooh, Okay, we're going to see. We're going to see. So I have quite a few links to get through today. We have the courtroom drawing of David has come out. As you may recall, the drawing of David, the cameras were not allowed to be in the courtroom on the second hearing date that David had. They were in the courtroom on that first date. That was supposed to be the arraignment, but it ended up only just being it did end up being the arraignment, right? Yeah. Okay. So he pled not guilty. So at the arraignment, there were cameras, and that's where we got the the actual depictions of David in the courtroom. Then, a little bit later last week, I think first day was the 20th, and then on the 23rd, he had court again. There was no cameras allowed. And so because there were no cameras allowed, we didn't get to see physically what David looked like. Now, I did draft up a letter to the judge, and I'm trying to figure out if there's a way for me to file it publicly, because I actually drafted up a request to the judge to let there be somewhat of cameras in that courtroom, because I think it is so monumentally important. And maybe if I have some time later in today's video, I'll read that to y'all. It is just a draft. I don't know for sure if I'm even going to send it. I don't know for sure if I'm even allowed to send it. I need to do some more research on that. If I can't send it, maybe somebody, who does have more standing in the case could like use that letter as an adaptation. I'm happy to, work with anybody who does, but that's a little premature. My whole thing is I think cameras should be allowed, but they were not allowed to be in the courtroom on the 23rd, which was just a schedule. It ended up being a scheduling hearing, and they ended up talking about a little bit of evidence. That's where the prosecutors came out and said David had a lot of, type of material on his device or his iCloud. It kind of was reported both ways, that maybe it was on his iPhone, maybe it was on his iCloud. I'm not exactly 100% sure exactly, but that was that hearing. It was the second one David has had so far. It was on the 23rd. So there was no cameras allowed in there, and this is the drawing we got out of the courtroom. Okay, no cameras allowed. So this is what he apparently looked like. Now, in the video where we did see there were cameras, he had on like a black hoodie, and now they done got him dressed in the orange jump suit. Do have email to send clues about David? Yes, you can email ThatSurpriseWitness at gmail.com, or you can email bjcliveshow, all one word, at gmail.com. Is Kadisha Lynn in here? Shout out to her. Someone's saying hello to her. Oh, good morning. Good morning to the cousins in the chat. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. And Kadisha Lynn has been putting out a lot of content as well on this. And she does such a good job of, I think, not just regurgitating like the same stuff other people have done. She does a really good job of investigating and putting pieces together in an outside of the box way that other people don't. So I do find her coverage to be absolutely invaluable. Let me pin her comment so y'all can see. That's her name over here on YouTube. I think she is on other platforms as well. TikTok, Instagram. I primarily see her content come up on my YouTube because I don't go on TikTok anymore, but she might be over there too. Okay, so this is the drawing. This is the drawing of David. This is possibly, you know, the only type of imagery that we may get out of this case. The judge has determined and ordered, at least as of now, there's not going to be any cameras allowed at all. Hopefully, maybe my letter that I'm maybe thinking about sending her will change her mind, and maybe I'll read that later. Okay, so there's the drawing. All right. Now, in the last video, we talked about some of David's, in retrospect, kind of ominous previous music and ominous previous music videos. So we're going to circle back around to that again today. We're going to recircle back around and we're going to talk about some of that today. There was this video, the rehab video. Okay. And we did talk about this, but when I did the live stream, when I spoke about this the last time, I didn't want to play the video because David's stuff notoriously just gets not only copyright, you know, claimed where you don't make any money on your video, but like actually blocked. Like nobody can see any of the video. I can't even in the back end see the video. It's blocked. Can't be played in any country. So I'm very, very apprehensive to play David music or David music videos. So I didn't want to go through this rehab video, but thankfully somebody went on the Reddit and just put some screenshots. So this is one of his music visualizers. I don't know, you know, I'm not in the industry. I don't know what separates something from being a visualizer or a music video or an anime music video. I really don't know. But this is like for all intents and purposes, you know, I'm old, a music video. The rehab movie. Has anyone tracked down the animators from these scenes? Clarification, I don't think they should be harassed. I don't think they're to blame for anything, nor do I think the music video directly depicts Celeste's death because it was released in 2023. Now I'm going to slideshow through these here, but I'm just reading the context. There was a definite brief they were given and likely some character design documents. Any internal information on the design process of this female character could be, quite frankly, illuminating. The director is Tristan Zammit. David was a writer, but this was alongside someone else named Raheem Powell. The animation staff are all credited in the description, but there's no indication as to whether it was chronological order, etc. Okay, so this is the music video or the movie or whatever you visualize or you want to call it. This is supposedly, you know, supposed to, maybe people are speculating, possibly somehow visualize Celeste. Now, just to play the devil's advocate, not that she really or he really needs me to advocate for him, but I do like to keep an open mind to be fair on both sides. I don't like to get too far in the weeds without a lot of evidence. Like, this don't really look like Celeste to me. I'm just going to say it. This looks like a fully developed grown woman. Her hair seems to be a lot lighter in color and a totally different texture. Like, I would expect her to have little spirally curls. So I'm just going to say I don't think this is supposed to depict Celeste. And remember, this was released in 2023, and the prosecutors are only saying that David and Celeste's inappropriate aspects of their relationship began in September of 2023. So this could have been someone else being depicted here, okay? But here's the Itami type of character here. He's got his little bow tie and his glowing purple eyes, and there's a girl here. This, if anything, looks more like Aisha Collins than Celeste to me. So look, he's got his Edward Scissorhands hands on. He's obviously killed something recently, and then he's drinking. He's on the bottle, and here she is, comforting him. And again, here she is again, comforting him. And then he starts chopping limbs. Okay. Then he starts chopping off the limbs and she looks surprised. Now, again, this came out way before Celeste Rivas Hernandez lost her life. But it's interesting. He's wearing these slicey hands, or Itami, the alter ego is, and it was just a clean shing, a little slice right through. Okay. We don't know what the dismemberment weapons were. Here she is, kind of like surrounded by these little, I don't know, whatever that is. But as you can see, there's a very large, almost like a sword, going right through this character's midsection. I mean, almost exactly the sum average of the two puncture slices on Celeste Rivas Hernandez's body. And so, is this a situation of life imitating art? Is this a situation where there was a manifestation of something really nasty and really gross that David had always wanted to perhaps explore? Girl, I don't know. I really do not, Charity. We have talked on this channel a little bit before about the 3D printed saw theory. I don't believe that is what dismembered Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Maybe the puncture wounds, but I do not believe it was a 3D printed saw. The reason I do not, I grew up where they hunt stuff. All right. You cannot get through a sack of onions with a plastic knife for very long. Like, you're basically saying, it's a plastic cutlery could cut through a femur. I mean, y'all, like, I don't think you understand the amount of pressure that's needed to break a femur. And so he would have needed to 3D print a lot of saws to make it through even one femur. Like, think about when you're like even filing your nails, or, trying to cut something with a plastic knife. Sure, it might be sharp. It might be sharper than you ever thought it could be. But when you're running it up against like bone, you need something a lot more substantial. And so, do I know for sure what, he used? No. Do I think it's possible he might have tried to use a plastic 3D printed saw and then had to go use something else? Yes. But I don't think it was the 3D saw thing. That theory does not make any sense to me at all whatsoever. I think it was a very sharp metal instrument, like a saw, a real one, or bone saw, jigsaw. I think maybe it's possible he went out to a butcher or a pig farm or something like that, where they do have specialized tools for that. But I don't think it was a plastic saw. That's like saying somebody could do surgery with a plastic scalpel. It just doesn't make any sense at all to me. Physically, it does not make any sense. Cut through a femur? No, absolutely not. Thank you so much to Free Speech for the $5 super chat. Strategic Eyes True Crime just did a deep dive. Oh my God, you have to see it. He shows how David was copycatting manga in the way that Celeste was mutilated. I am going to talk about that today. And shout out to him for making that video. Thank you for the $5 super chat. It could be life imitating. No, well, create and evolve. It would be impossible for life to imitate art. I mean, it would be impossible for the art to be what's imitating life if this was released in 2023, but Celeste didn't die until 2 years later. Like, I mean, I guess unless this goes further back and this isn't Celeste, but this was from 2023. Celeste allegedly lost her life in 2025. So there's no possible way that this was based on Celeste's death, because she was still alive for 2 more years after it came out. And yeah, the saying goes both ways. It's like art imitates life, or does life imitate art? It's kind of like a chicken egg situation. Okay. What else? Okay, so we've looked at this picture before, right? Remember this? And it was like on one picture, it looked like he had these long red lines in the middle, but then nothing else. Or maybe he had these 2 red lines here, but not these. And then in another picture, it looked like maybe he had drawn on this red cross. So we already talked about this in a previous video, but this is what I didn't mention because I didn't realize exactly at the time. This is the day after Celeste died. Okay. So remember when I had my little bottle opener and I'm like, okay, you're going to pretend this is a knife. Just pretend this is the blade of the knife. Just pretend the blue part's the handle. Like, if you were to grab it and you wanted to stab, like let's say you had the knife like this, right? And you wanted to stab in a way, even cut through a box, the way that it would be touching on your hand would go right across the middle like that, right? Like, it would go right across the middle. either here if you held it low or here if you held it higher, but it would go right across the middle like that. And so if you were repeatedly, forcefully, doing this, it might tear up your hand. That was a theory that was going around. We've talked about it. Then he kind of draws this cross, this red cross. Okay, girl, that's not lost on me, but we don't have time for every conspiracy theory under the sun right now. He puts this red cross on his hand, perhaps to cover up the injury. That theory, I think, is strongly supported when you add up the fact this was supposedly one single day, the very next day after Celeste supposedly lost her life, the very next day, April 24th. And then, of course, his caption here is "No more side quests. You guys can't bully me anymore." Now, David's defense, he would probably say, yeah, you guys can't bully me about an album anymore, because he worked on an album for like 2 years. David actually put out 2 separate EPs that he thought were supposed to be albums, but the record label was just kind of like, no, I don't like that. Do it again. And so they did let him put out the EPs, but he ultimately had to work with Benny Blanco and some others to throw together this Withered album in like 10 days. So don't forget, David said he made the Withered album in 10 days, but it was only after working on other projects trying to make an album for like 2 years. And this is only the very next day after that, they say that Celeste Rivas Hernandez lost her life. This oh wait. Yeah. For 2025, this April 24th, 2025. So this would have been the day after Celeste lost her life. Now, again, he could have just been drawing on his hand. David could theoretically be completely innocent, okay? And he should be presumed innocent until proven guilty. I am trying to keep an open mind here. However, if this is some abrasion on his hand from possibly, holding something in this way and he's covering it up, why on earth would he be showing it to the camera? I mean, that's another question I have. But yeah, like, this is crazy. I just basically all of that just to say, I wanted to add on here that this was only the very next day after Celeste passed away. So if you're trying to look for evidence to support the theory that maybe that on his hand was something to do with the stabbing or whatever type of motions he maybe perhaps, according to prosecutors, was actually doing, this picture was only very next day. So I think it supports it. Someone said they think he met resistance in the rib cage and the knife turned in his hand. Interesting. Check your email of a pic of this hand. It's very odd. Will do. Thanks so much to Small Artisan for the $2 super chat. Looks very much like Ankh symbol on his hand. Could be. Let's see. Looks more like a cross, but it could, yeah, I see what you mean. It could be like connected here. I don't know what that would even necessarily mean, if it were an Ankh. But it could be. Thank you so much to Stevie for the £1.99 super thing or sticker chat. Okay, let me check my email. Kadisha Lynn said there's another picture of his hand. Look that up. Okay. Oh. Girl. Okay, let me download these pictures. Oh God, I hope David's not one of the cousins. I hope he's not one of my cousins, because he sure does have fleur-de-lis necklace on. Is David in the Acadian diaspora? Lord, please no. Okay, so thank you. Shout out to Kadisha Lynn for sending me these photos. I'm going to pull them up here now for y'all to see. So here's the first one. I think the second one is just a zoom in. But here's the first. And what the hell is this? Does it say Jesuits? Because the Jesuits have the Red Cross. Okay. That's, what does this say? Jesuits? I literally think it says Jesuits, and I really that's my new conspiracy theory right now. What does this say? Jesuits. lawsuit. Girl, what does it say? Okay, hold on. She sent me a zoom in one. Zoomed in on his hand. Hold on. Okay, let me zoom in. Let me pull that up for y'all here. Girl. Put it in the comments, put it in the chat what you think that says. I'm going Jesuit. I mean, I biasly want it to be Jesuits. But anyway, forget about what it says right there for a second. Look at these two lines. Look at those two lines, and they're like exactly parallel from what it looks like to me. I guess maybe this is a little bit closer than this. But I mean, again, y'all can't even see it. Here, look. Forget about what it says. This is what I was looking at. Forget about what it says for a second and look at these two lines right here. They're so almost perfectly parallel, as if, I don't know. You know what I mean? Just like, I don't know. I'll just say. And what does it say? That's another one. I mean, it's just kind of blurry and it's on his hand. And what is it written in? And, all of that. Now, Steve Fischer came out and said he thought this was a temporary tattoo. I do not. I don't think that is a temporary tattoo. I think this is some type of abrasions from some physical activity or something. That is just, you think it spells Celeste? I don't see that at all. CELE. No, I don't see that, but girl, I mean, it could. I don't know. Maybe if you don't know how to spell or something. Anyway, so it's a 98% chance that when you poke another person, you always get cut. That's interesting. Oh, so he cut the words over the cut. I don't know if he cut those words. It might have been written. Like it could be like because he did also draw a cross on the hand. So it could have been that there was some type of cut there, but then he took a red pen or a red marker and tried to obscure it. And then he's like, haha, like it's a tattoo. But I don't know truly. And I just wanted to show y'all some of the things that I had seen and found. And, hold on. I wanted to show y'all some of the things that I had seen and that I had found. And I wanted to show y'all the picture that Kadisha Lynn just sent me. So there y'all go. Misfits could say, could it be henna? It could be. You see Zag, but you can't make out the rest. This guy gives me the ick. Looks like he might have burned it. I see Kirby. Kirby says he thinks it says Jesus. I don't see Jesus in it, but it could say Jesus. It's so blurry, but looks like that even got blurred out. And you know what else I'm remembering too, just from like the movies I've watched in my life and like the media I've consumed, like, don't you remember like all those shows we watched, Indiana Jones and just different shows we watch where people Charmed and whatever, where people have to cut their hand to give blood, like for an altar. Like, don't you remember just seeing that in pop culture so much? Put a 2 in the chat. You remember like all those shows they had us watching where it's like, you got to cut your hand to sign the contract. You got to cut your hand right there to sign the, it's just me. A singular hallucination. Yeah. Okay. People are saying Ruby, free speech, Katie. Yeah. It's like, and then you have like, Megan, what's her name? Fox saying that she was doing blood, drinking each other's blood with Machine Gun Kelly for ritual purposes. Like, just because you wouldn't do a blood ritual, just because I don't do blood or rituals doesn't mean that they're not out here doing them. And I'm just fully open in my mind to that at this point, because like, it's not a lot that you can do to explain to me why a very young man, just over the age of really just became a grown up according to the law, would be so into all of this stuff, be doing all of this stuff, despite the fact that he apparently had a great upbringing in a stable home with nice parents who loved him, who brought him to church or whatever. You know, it just doesn't really, I'll just say, I too grew up in a Pentecostal church. Okay. Now, my parents weren't Pentecostal, but they did both of them grew up Pentecostal, apostolic, Southern, saved by the speaking in tongues, baptized in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay. Not the type with snakes before y'all start asking. No, there were no snakes, but there was running the pews. There was hooting and hollering. There was prophecies. There was prophesizing. There was intercessory prayers. There was sweating. There was spitting. Okay. People were passing out, fainting. And to this very day, my grandparents are still Pentecostal. So I grew up around the Pentecostals, okay? And there's a reason I ain't a Pentecostal. There's a reason I ain't a practicing Christian today, okay? It's because what these people are doing calling Christianity, I just can't co-sign it. I cannot even be associated because I just cannot. But I don't know if it's like enough to like turn somebody into a whatever David turned into. So that's another thing that's kind of tripping me out. It's like, he's so young when it happened. And I'm not trying to give an excuse. Also, I don't know. Sorry, I got distracted by y'all's comments here. I don't know. You know, we don't know. He's innocent until proven guilty. We don't know what he did or didn't do. But I don't know. Anyway, I just wanted to show y'all that. So let's move to the next thing. Okay, so there's a few things in today's live I want to show y'all that are kind of like, in retrospect, kind of prophetic, like David kind of predicted, or other people predicted where this would end up. So this is a Reddit post from 3 days ago. It says, back when David said he was going to retire in the next 5 years to live on his own private island with no internet and no digital footprint, and he's going to be gone. This is giving Epstein vibes. And with knowing all the information we now know, it's worser intentions than Epstein. I don't know. I don't think we even have the tip of the iceberg truly about what even the Epstein stuff was. But this is a 39-second clip, and we'll call this one Prediction from David years ago.
In the next 5 years.
Okay, so the plan is hopefully this music thing takes off crazy next year.
Why is he saying? Why are you saying that like you're not like up there, gang?
Well, I'm not there yet, but hopefully it's like even crazier next year. And then I'm going crazy year after year for the next 3 years. And then on the 4th year, I retire. And on the 5th year, I'm off the grid, living somewhere like on an island with this crazy crib. No social media, no digital footprint.
Okay, hold on. So he went really viral in 2022 with Romantic Homicide. The video for it came out on Celeste's birthday, 2022. How many years ago was 2022? For those good with math, right now it's 2026. How many years ago was 2022? 4. Okay. So next year on this timeline, next year would be when he's moved to the island. He has off the grid, and he is has no internet connection, and he's on his private island. I swear to God, if David gets off easy and nobody goes down for this, and then he just absconds into obscurity, it will literally be like Epstein.
I'm just gone. In 5 years, I'm going to be gone.
Will you still remember me?
Yeah, bro. You'll have like the secret codes to the mansion. Yeah? You can pull up on every.
What's the secret code? Give us the first 2 numbers.
Absolutely
of the
not.
All right.
That was kind of a stupid question. Okay, like give me the secret code to the mansion here on live. Cecilia, she said, what if he was asked to sell his soul and refused and was involved in predator behavior, but someone else murked her to frame him? No sympathy if facts, but what if? Okay. This leads me to a theory I have. Okay, so I want to start giving my little, I call it psychic visions from the mothership. I'm only saying that. I don't think I'm psychic. I could be. I don't really know what that even means, but it's just a feeling I have, just an opinion I have, and it's not based on any facts. So I don't want anybody suing me to say that I, did something defamatory or something. I don't have any facts, but this is something that I actually truly believe. Not this specifically, but Cecilia's comment. I do kind of have like an inkling of some aspects of this myself. Now, mandatory disclaimer. I do not know who did what. Okay. I do not know. I do not know what happened because I was not there. However, I'm leaning toward, yeah, David knows. Okay. David knows what happened and he was there when it happened. Now, was David alone? Was David completely alone in the killing or the unaliving? I don't know, but I don't think so. He's like literally my size of a human. Okay. Like literally pretty much my size. I'm a small person. I'm like, as far as humans are concerned, I'm on the smaller end. Okay. And he's a man. So he's like 5'5". He's like this much taller than me. And he weighs pretty much what I weigh, like 120 pounds. I think they said I weigh about like 115, 120 pounds. So maybe he's 2 inches taller than me, 10 pounds heavier. Maybe. Okay. That's even if he's like very strong, he's a slight individual. Okay. So I don't know if he could even necessarily Celeste was also about 5'2", 120 pounds. Like they were about the same size. Now that's not to say he couldn't have. That's not to say he didn't, but I don't know and I wasn't there. Now, let's say I can get past that. Let's say I'm like, all right, it was adrenaline. You know, sometimes tiny little moms can flip a car over. We've all heard this story before. A mom can flip a car off of her child or, a man can lift a whatever, if the adrenaline is going. Okay, fine. Let's say David did do it himself. The act. I'm going to go out on the record. I have the right to change my mind, and I'm only basing this on just feelings and what I've seen in the public record. This is not a fact. This is not an allegation of a crime. But I just cannot accept. I could be wrong, but I cannot accept that David would put the body in the trunk, leave it there for 4 months, and drive around the neighborhood to different spots and not do something else with that body. I cannot accept that fact. And so maybe he did. I mean, none of his behaviors make any damn sense to me. So maybe he did, but I don't think so. I think he pissed somebody off and that body was supposed to be put somewhere else by somebody else that was supposed to take care of it. And it didn't get took care of. Now, maybe it's because David went back on his word. Maybe it was because the person who was supposed to take care of the body fell into trouble of their own. Maybe it was because there was a beef or a falling out. I have said it since the first day. Y'all can go and run the tapes on That Surprise Witness. The first day I talked about this case, I said, what if there wasn't a body in that car until it hit the tow yard? Just what if? I know that's not what we all think, but we all know the LAPD is corrupt, right? And that's who the tow yard was under the supervision of. We also know the LAPD didn't bother to file charges on this, or make an arrest on this, rather, for like 8 months, 7 months. So, do you remember the Diddy case? Fingerprints from the Kid Cudi scene went missing. They just got destroyed against protocol. There was somebody had broken into Kid Cudi's house. Somebody had thrown a boom boom into his car. The cops came, got fingerprints from the scene, ran the fingerprints, and their fingerprints went missing. Do you remember in Meg Thee Stallion case, bullet fragments went missing? These celebrities are often associated in Los Angeles with evidence going missing. Both murder weapons from both the Tupac and the Diddy case went missing. Both of them. So, did maybe the LAPD spend the last 7 months getting their ducks in a row? Well, A. Riley's paintings makes a good point. Not impossible, but why were the neighbors complaining about the smell prior to the car being towed? That's disputed. Some neighbors say they didn't smell anything and they walked right by that car. Some of them said, oh, maybe I did smell something. I thought it was my dog buried in the yard. So even that, we don't know these neighbors, right, Riley? I mean, I just want to, again, I want to be very clear. I'm not saying David's innocent. I'm not saying I believe he's innocent. I think he was in on it. I think he knows what happened. I just don't think he's the only one. And what I don't want to see is only one person involved get scapegoated and all the other 4, 10, 15, 20, 60, 50, 11 people get to keep going on as if nothing happened. Justice means justice. So, Dave, we don't know these people. We didn't go check the property records. Did we knock on their door and say, how long have you lived? No, we don't know. And I'm getting to the point where I'm not really like too keen, since we like saying keen over here on the channel now. I'm not, shout out to the UK cousins in the chat. I'm not too keen on just believing everything I hear in the media. And that's one of the things that I wrote in my letter. I'm going to pull up the letter now. I'm going to read y'all my letter. I'm going to read y'all my letter for the judge. Now, I didn't send it. I don't know if I even will. But the other day, I just had it on my heart and my mind to write this letter to the judge. I don't even know if I'm allowed to send it. I don't know if I will. And I do want to also say absolutely no ChatGPT, no Claude, no any AI at all whatsoever was consulted in the writing of this. This is straight from my dome, okay? Straight off the dome. Nobody else helped me to write this. This is mine, and these are my thoughts, okay? So I want to read to y'all a letter that I might send to the judge in the David case about exactly these issues. How we don't really know anything from anything because the media keeps on getting it wrong. Okay. So this is my letter that, draft, I should say, draft. This is a draft letter. Okay. So I said, Dear Your Honor, I write to you in reference to a capital murder case before Your Honor titled The People of the State of California versus David Anthony Burke. I am an American citizen, a concerned member of the public, and a lawyer turned legal educator. I earned my JD from the University of Pennsylvania Law School in 2020. After graduation, I practiced law at a large firm in New York City before resigning my position as an associate at the firm to focus my attention full-time on helping non-lawyers understand their rights and the legal system. Put a 3 in the chat if you've learned something about the legal system on this channel or my other ones. Ow. I said to the judge, again, I didn't send this. I might send it. I might not. I don't know. I got to even look at the logistics. I said, I often focus my work on cases of major constitutional importance or cases with substantial public interest as vehicles to teach broader concepts, right? So people are already following this case anyway, so I'll focus on it too so people can learn about it. As you are most likely aware, this case has garnered substantial, truly unprecedented public interest and concern since the media first announced in September last year that the dismembered remains of a missing child were found in the trunk of a vehicle registered to the defendant in this case. For example, although the news only broke of the victim's remains being found over 9 months into the year, the defendant's stage name became the #1 Google search for the whole year of 2025. The public interest in this case is substantial. As you may also be aware, the global public, including those residing in California, has received our news updates in this case primarily from media outlets, purporting, okay, this is the part that it gets relevant, purporting to have exclusive sources operating within the Los Angeles Police Department, the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office, the Los Angeles Office of the Medical Examiner, and even the halls of the Criminal Justice Center. Also, the media purports to have exclusive family member sources and friends of people who are parties to this case. For months on end, these media outlets have run tabloid-style headlines purporting to be exclusive news and updates. In turn, these rumors have dominated the news cycle and left a very concerned public in a state of despair, outrage, and distress about what happened to this missing child and how she could have possibly ended up the way she did. Then I say, fortunately, Your Honor, your recent order, to unseal the autopsy reports for the victim, Celeste Rivas Hernandez, has answered many outstanding questions that had previously kept the public and Celeste's family awake at night for the past 7 months. The medical examiner also released a press release in which he emphasized the importance of transparency in cases like this for the public, for truth, and for justice. Moreover, It's also been a great relief to hear directly from the LAPD chief himself, as well as the district attorney in a recent joint press conference during which they confirmed that an arrest had been made and charges had been filed. Okay. And then I'm like, okay, so that's all great, right? Like, cool. I'm glad we're finally getting some information. You had the thing unsealed, Your Honor. The DA came out and talked. The police came out and talked. The medical examiner issued a statement. But I say, unfortunately, as we begin to receive more verified, factual, and finite information from these more authoritative sources, we've also begun to realize that the previously mentioned exclusive news updates that we were receiving and that we had trusted were patently and demonstrably false when compared to official statements. We were misled at best, Your Honor, and intentionally lied to and manipulated by practitioners of the dark arts of public relations at worst. I said, it'll likely come as no surprise to you, to Your Honor, that Los Angeles and the culture of Hollywood in particular is entirely infested with a thriving, pervasive public relations economy. The beneficiaries of this economy have no legal duty to report the truth accurately or honestly, and they are perversely incentivized by financial gain above all else, including the truth. Hollywood and misleading public relations campaigns are inextricably intertwined. I regret to inform Your Honor that the same PR machine appears to have pervaded this very case as well. Your Honor presided over a scheduling hearing in this very case on April 23, 2026, during which the defendant spoke, and prosecutors and defense attorneys traded certain comments about evidence, procedure, and scheduling. During this hearing, I understand that arguments were also made before Your Honor on behalf of several media outlets, which hoped to see the case broadcast to the public. According to public reporting, Your Honor denied that request to broadcast any of the proceedings in this case. Your Honor has disallowed broadcasting of the hearing, and because there's no online access to minute orders for the case, I have no way to know whether that reporting was even true. However, if that reporting was accurate, this letter serves as a sincere and desperate request for you to please reconsider Your Honor's decision, if only to modify it to allow for some level of public access, even to a limited broadcast. Of course, the nature of the allegations in this case and the evidence in this case obviate a substantial degree of discretion. I'm basically saying, look, I ain't trying to tell you to put it all out there. All right. I said certain aspects of this case should never be made public, and I would never ask Your Honor to even consider doing so. And I gave some examples. I'm like, for example, child S, material, or corn, images, graphic photographs, videos of the victim or her remains, depictions of violent abuse. I don't want you to make any of that public, Your Honor. But I urge you to please also consider some of the harmful implications of excluding the public from the opportunity to view the substantive proceedings of this trial ourselves. I said, thank you for the opportunity to explain. It is true that Your Honor's courtroom is open to the media, because that was her argument back to the guy who was standing up there in court, arguing to broadcast the hearing. The judge, from what I heard from like Armand Wiggins and other people who were there in the courtroom, the judge said there's going to be media. They're going to report what happens in this case. They're going to be sitting here and they're going to report it. So I say, yes, Your Honor, it is true. The courtroom is open to the media. And it's also true that a few seats are reserved for the public who, the ones that are able to dedicate an entire day to sitting in on a court hearing. I said these limited court seats go to those select privileged few who are able to take time off work and stand in increasingly long lines very early in the morning, long before the courthouse opens, in an attempt to obtain even a chance at a coveted seat. Even so, those public seats are even extremely limited and in high demand. Based on my experience of following high-profile civil cases and some criminal trials nearly full time over the past several years, and I gave examples, Sean P. Diddy, Puff Daddy Combs, Britney Spears, Amanda Bynes, etc. Many of those public seats in practice don't go to the public. they too get filled by media representatives who couldn't get a spot that was actually reserved for the media, so then they start infringing over on our public spots. I said, Your Honor, this leaves the public in a dire and vulnerable position, and it leaves the truth even worse off. First of all, the scarcity of the seats creates high demand for the few public seats available. This scarcity results in a free-for-all atmosphere outside the courthouse each day, and it disproportionately affects those who don't have a guaranteed spot, which means the actual public, not the mainstream media who often have seats reserved for them and prance right through. Prance right in through throngs of desperate public citizens. I know I remember being at the Diddy trial fighting for my freaking life to get in a spot that was rightfully mine in more ways than one, and watching Chloe Malos just prance right in. This tension builds, and this circus-like atmosphere is persistent throughout the entire trial, and it pervades the entire courthouse. If the hearing were substantially broadcast to the public, even on a delay, right? Like even if it was later that evening or after that day court was over, or maybe the next day, I said that would mitigate this otherwise inevitable problem. It's not only this genuine scarcity that creates tension either, Your Honor. There also exists a more sinister problem about which you may not be aware. So I'm trying to tell her something she might not know. I said at a similar high-profile trial last year, I personally witnessed firsthand a scheme whereby PR managers apparently recruit, hire, and pay unemployed and unhoused individuals to wreak havoc at the courthouses and at the hearings. This includes wearing pre-printed merchandise. Put a 4 in the chat if you put a 5 in the chat. You remember the pre-printed merchandise to create certain perceptions for the news cameras, for the media. This included attacking dissidents and critics of the defendant, and importantly, included filling every single one of the limited public spots in the public line for the explicit purpose of prohibiting the actual public from getting into the courtroom. I then watched as that same defendant's PR managers schmoozed and philandered with representatives from all the mainstream media outlets throughout the day, obviously attempting to obtain favorable coverage for their client, who was the defendant in that case. I said I traveled out of the state to attend the trial for one day, and I was threatened with racial slurs and violence for merely exercising my right to stand in a line for the high-profile public criminal trial. Strangers I had never met before yelled at me relentlessly for hours, all day really, including statements about how I don't belong in the courthouse because of the color of my skin. Later that night, they band together to make several false and slanderous videos about me, perversely framing me as the so-called racist, which was a clear attempt to harm my credibility and to limit my speech. This spectacle was all because I took a public position that was unfavorable to the defendant, whose PR team, I believe, in my opinion, was pulling the strings on that entire courthouse circus. If I hadn't seen it myself, Your Honor, I might not believe it, but I did see it myself. It happened to me. In another case, completely unrelated and in a different state, I was surveilled and followed outside the Stanley Mosque Courthouse in Los Angeles by a large man, much larger than I, who closely followed me around with a camera, laughing and sneering until I left. This too was because I took a different public position than the approved PR position, and he didn't want me, in my opinion and belief, to disseminate the true and factual information to the public about what I actually observed in the public courthouse at the public non-televised hearing. I said, Your Honor, I do not know if this type of targeted harassment will happen again in this case to other members of the public, but I fear that it will. Indeed, evidence exists that these scare tactics are already well underway in this very case. On the morning of the defendant's arraignment, it was reported that the Fultz Criminal Justice Center was subjected to bomb threats, which required SWAT teams and bomb squads to respond. It was reported that the victim's family was so afraid and intimidated by these scare tactics and threats that they canceled a previously planned, long-awaited press conference. I do not believe they were the only ones intimidated by these threats. If these reports are true, the voices of the victim and her family have already been stolen once by these bad actors. I said the public deserves transparency in our institutions. The public has a right to know the truth. The defendant himself even has a right to have the public know the truth about what actually happens in his trial for justice to be served. Not just these highly inaccurate, manipulative PR spin campaigns that have pervaded and defined this case so far. The victim and her family deserve to have the public know and observe the whole truth with discretion and, some level of censorship, of course, about what happened to their daughter without themselves having to police every lie and false statement that the tabloids decide to print. They deserve to view the substantial parts of the trial from the privacy and safety of their homes as well, without wondering when the next time they're going to face another bomb threat at the courthouse. So does the public. As it stands, the only people guaranteed a seat in the room where it happens are the same media sources which have to date gotten the truth and the facts entirely wrong in this very case. They purported to have LAPD sources and information from the DA's office and the medical examiner, but the information they disseminated was wrong. I fear their behavior will only continue, which harms the public, the truth, the victim and her family, and the defendant. I understand that some things should never be made public, and I am not requesting, Your Honor, to live broadcast the entire trial and all of the evidence carte blanche. I understand there are consequences to broadcasting even some parts of the trial, and I am sympathetic to them, but I humbly request that Your Honor weigh the greatest good against the least harm to all parties interested in this case, and that includes a very concerned public, against the backdrop of what's already occurred in this case. The public cannot and does not trust traditional media to handle this case, and I don't think Your Honor should either. These outlets have misled us at best and lied to us at worst. This distrust, when added to the inherent scarcity of the publicly available seats at the trial, will almost certainly lead to a chaotic atmosphere at trial where various parties must quite literally fight for a spot to observe this unprecedented death penalty eligible trial, which deals with some of the most serious charges a prosecutor will ever face. And that paragraph right there, the public cannot trust the media and does not trust them to handle this case. And I don't think Your Honor should either. These outlets have misled us at best and lied to us at worst. They don't call it the dark arts of public relations for nothing. This distrust, when added to the inherent scarcity of publicly available seats at the trial, will almost certainly lead to a chaotic atmosphere at trial. Okay? Now, did I consult ChatGPT, Claude AI, anybody AI, LMNOP? No. I had to learn how to write like that the hard way. So sometimes I flex it. I don't know if I'm going to send that to her, but I'm glad I got that out. You know what I mean? I'm glad I got it out. Okay, so we have some more updates. This is purportedly, supposedly an actress who played in a David music video. Actress who played David's girlfriend in a music video. Now, she's out here denouncing David. Okay, so let's hear what she has to say.
Hey everyone, my name is Cassidy Clark. I was in the Here With Me music video when I was 18 years old, and I'm going to talk about it. I submitted for the job via casting networks, and I got casted. It was a 12-hour shoot, very low pay, non-union job. I met David's whole family. His whole family was there because he was a minor at the time. I was 18, he was 17, and when you're a minor working on set, you have to have your one guardian present, but his whole family was there. I met his younger sister, who is probably now around the same age as Celeste would be, and he has a younger brother as well. During the shoot, I played his girlfriend, and that was that. We followed each other on Instagram just for the sake of, oh, you shot with me for 12 hours. We might as well follow each other on Instagram. We honestly didn't really get along that well. I would say I'm pretty outgoing, and we just really didn't click. If anything, I felt like I was kind of bickering with him.
Makes
but that's
sense.
Besides the point. The reason why I'm making this video is because I've gotten quite a few messages of people asking me if I have anything to do with this, if I know what's going on. And I just wanted to put an end to it. I do not associate with David by any means. I'm an actor. I literally have nothing to do with him. I did it for a job. I did it for a check. I didn't know who David was. I don't follow him on Instagram anymore. I'm going to remove him as a follower. And I think that he deserves even more than what's happening to him right now. He's a monster, and I do not associate with him by any means. I'm not making this video to make this about me. I'm making this video to put an end to my association with David. Like I said, I've been getting countless amount of messages, comments, stuff like that. I know this video is going to get the same thing, but at least I'm saying I don't associate with David, and all justice to Celeste Rivas and her family. I don't associate with David by any means.
Oh, wait.
David Burke, I don't associate with you. And thanks for listening. Bye.
Okay. So there you have it. She was in the David Here With Me. That was like probably his other biggest song. The Here With Me song. And she's like, look, I got cast through a casting director. It wasn't like I was his bestie Anna or something. Like best friends were hanging out or nothing. Like I did a job. I don't talk to him. We didn't even get along on the set. So, thankful to her for coming out and saying that. Somebody said, they don't think that she should have been being attacked, just for simply being in the music video. I don't think so either. I wasn't attacking her. I didn't know they were attacking her. Nobody should be being attacked. Certainly don't go attack nobody because you saw my channel, please. This channel is not for sending people to go attack. I completely denounce that. I do not, encourage that at all. I don't even think anybody should go attack somebody that's like a criminal or whatever. I really do just want the justice system to take due course. And I hope that David gets a fair trial. I hope he gets a fair trial. I hope he has every single right afforded to him, because if and when he gets convicted, I want it to stick. Okay. Now, I told y'all that today we would be going back and looking at some things that happened in the past. Some things I've talked about before, some things I have not. But it maybe would have given, like, just in retrospect, like, ooh, like I'm kind of like, about this, in retrospect. And this is when David went on tour. See, before David went on tour, for his own tour, which was cut short because Celeste Rivas Hernandez's body was found. Before David went on tour, he had been on tour already with this other famous artist called SZA. That's her stage name. And she pulls him up on stage and says, oh my God, this was in 2023. She pulls him up on stage and says she needed a David when she was younger. Girl, you didn't need a David because you might have possibly ended up in the front trunk dismembered with your pinky missing. Okay. But anyway, let's hear it. Let's hear what she said on stage. Also, okay, why am I showing y'all this? Not only is it this like, okay, back to, oh, it was so weird looking back on it. No, this makes David seem like someone who's safe for young people to be around, which, knowing what we know at this point, even if he didn't kill a fly, he wasn't safe for young people to be around. That's my opinion. That's my belief. But here says, oh my God, young people need to be around you because I should have been around people like you when I was young, girl.
I needed you. I needed you when I was younger. I need you now. We need you. Our diaspora needs you. I'm so grateful that you're here on this tour. I'm grateful to
Okay, listen. She said our diaspora needed you. And what that means is all the Black people all across the world. I'm obviously not included. Okay, I don't know if it's obvious or not, but I'm not included in the Black people diaspora. But I got a lot of cousins in the chat right now who are. Can y'all vote and tell me if y'all needed David to represent the diaspora? I just want y'all to only nobody else except the diaspora gets to vote on this one. Okay, only the ones that gets to vote is the ones in the diaspora. No, people are all saying no. The cousins in the chat are saying absolutely not. We did not need David in the diaspora. SZA does not speak for Black people, they say. And look, the cousins, look, like y'all take the cousins' word for it, not mine. Not mine. I'm not speaking. Riley's painting said no, no. No. Diaspora, Amanda, does not mean emo music. No, ma'am, girl. No, ma'am. No, that is not what diaspora means. I'm going to look it up for y'all. Just tell y'all what it means. Look. The dispersion of people from their original homeland, often maintaining a strong cultural or emotional tie to it while living worldwide. And that's why I say, shout out to the Acadian diaspora, wherever you may be in the world, because that's my diaspora, one of them. I have a lot of them. I'm white mystery. I have a lot of things, okay, going on, believe it or not. But she ain't talking about emo. There's no emo diaspora. This has to do with a homeland where you come from and you keep your culture. Okay. So no. People are saying no. We do not need no. We do not know. A lot of people are saying no. No. What does this have to do with the case? Well, I don't know if you know this or not, but David is accused of murdering a 14-year-old and cutting her body up after having a over year-long inappropriate illegal relationship. So here he is being put on by one of the biggest stars in the world, saying that she needed him when she was a kid, making it seem like he's safe for kids to be around. That's what it has to do with the case. Try to keep up, please. Please try to keep up. Okay. If you don't know what's going on, just shut up and listen. Exactly. Just shut up and listen, please. Just try to keep up. Okay. Yeah, there is a Jewish diaspora. That does count. Yes, there is. Thank you. Better try again. I can come to the out. Thank God. I've been working on the line dances lately, girl. Okay, let's be honest. She didn't know what that meant. Let's be honest. She might have known what it meant. Because guess who came on that tour? David's family. Guess who also came on that tour? Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Yeah. Celeste came on this tour. So we really don't know, if we're being honest, if she knew what that meant or not. There's evidence she did know what it meant. There's evidence she did know there was a little girl running around that backstage. It was her tour. Here he is bowing. So thankful and grateful. My God.
Our diaspora needs you. I'm so grateful that you're here.
This is corny.
I'm grateful to your hometown. And y'all better not be paying him dust neither. Thank you to your beautiful mom and your family for cooking for us. I just wanted to come and say thank you. Hey, he is from New York. He is from Queens. Make the fucking noise for David!
I also think it's just really interesting how when he's in Texas, he's from Texas. But when he's in New York, he's from Queens. Can we pick a place? She's very dense. I think she's got some serious problems. Anyway, I'm not a fan. So moving on from that, let's see. SZA needed a David when she was younger. I guess, maybe she could come out and denounce her association with him. Now, this is something interesting that I saw, which is somewhat related to this case because, oh yeah, right. Tina Marie, good point. Thank you for pick a diaspora. No, some people have a lot of diasporas. Okay. Some of us are all mixed up. Okay. SZA has a song called I Just Killed My Ex. So maybe he did learn a thing or two from her, girl. I don't know. New York can have him. The Texans are saying, no, y'all have him. The New Yorkers are saying, hey, were the cops investigating David before the murmur? Well, there is some evidence that they may have been. We'll get into that in a little while, but this is the next thing I wanted to move on to. A lot of people have been saying, because there was one or two inconclusive substances in Celeste's system when the toxicology reports came back. And one of the substances that came back inconclusive was methamphetamine. And one of the substances, I believe it was originally presumed positive, but then it came back as no, it wasn't in her system actually, was benzo, like a Xanax or Ativan type thing, benzodiazepine. And before the autopsy results were made public, it was widely speculated that maybe Celeste accidentally died. Maybe she accidentally died from a substance situation, O to the D. And even Steve Fischer postulated this theory. TMZ postulated this theory. Mark Garagos postulated this theory on TMZ. We heard a lot of people on Reddit. Just different people. Maybe she accidentally owed to the D. And that's not completely out of the ordinary for people to speculate, because when somebody dies, especially is found dead and nobody knew that they died, a lot of times when the person is young, like they're not, an older person, the first thing we all ask is how? How did somebody young and seemingly healthy die? If they didn't have a history of cancer or something like that, how did they die? Well, a lot of times it's O to the D. It's a harsh and terrible reality about the open air hell prison where we live, but a lot of people, including probably everybody in this chat, has somebody within a few degrees of separation from you that has died that way, me included. So, and not just one. I've had many, 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 many loved ones, family members leave this earth because of substances and because doing them. And that's just part of the reality we live in. It's unfortunate. I hate it. It sucks. I've lost years of my life of sleep over this issue, but it is an issue. So people are speculating, maybe, possibly, David, just only hid the body because what really had happened was Celeste, did voluntarily did substances, and maybe she died that way. Well, that's interesting. And that's possible, I guess. I really don't know. I wasn't there. That's not what the medical examiner said, but look at this statistic. 51% of female certain substance users, this one is an opioid that starts with H, used the substance for the first time because they were injected by a male sexual partner. So more than half of female users, more than half of them started doing it because a male sexual partner injected them. Somebody said, yeah, I don't guess I copied the right tweet. Somebody had retweeted this and said, yeah, that is the MO for a lot of S traffickers. They will get these women hooked on purpose onto these substances to control them, to make them more pliable, but also, and I had saved this link, but I guess this Texan cousin said he's from California. He's from California. He's from New York, girl. I don't know where he's from, but somebody had commented on this. Maybe I shared it. Somebody commented on it and said, yeah, that's a common tactic used by S traffickers because first of all, it makes people more pliable, easier to control. But second of all, and this was a quote, nobody believes a drug addict. And it's like, it made me go rushing back to things that we have seen happen in the past. It's like, it's so true. Once Bam Margera was labeled schizophrenic and a drug user, the cops did not want to listen to what he was saying, even though it was true. Amanda Rabb, she's just a schizophrenic crackhead, they would say. She's a street urchin. Everything she says is crazy and insane because she's addicted to crack and she's got schizophrenia. Dahlia and Dia, they were just crazy schizophrenic drug addicts that had been to rehab 60 times. Don't listen to anything they say. Nova, when she starts to come out, people are going to start to say, well, she was using all them substances. How does she even know? Britney Spears. The list goes on. The list goes on. Nick Reiner, thank you. Local burb. Valkyrie said that's why they'll give you a taste for free because they know they can get you hooked. And once they get you hooked, you're going to be back. So this is from an actual study. Sati Patel, quote, the men or man she socializes with during this period often transition her from prescription drugs to the work available on the streets to increase her vulnerability to exploitation. Now, please be very clear. I'm not saying David did this. I'm not saying maybe David did this. What I'm saying is how substances can be used to control women and then to later control the perception of that woman when she ever does try to go get help. Beverly Powis of the National Addiction Center reported about 51% of female that substance users were first given the substance by their mate, not only given it, but like actively injected. Not just hand it over. Like, no, let me do it. And this is educational. This is not to encourage. This is not to, this is not entertainment. This is supposed to be educational, this part right here. To bring awareness of what's really going on, because this statistic shocked me. When compared to men, about 90% of all men had their first time by a friend, not a female sexual partner, but rather a friend. Now, this was a study all the way back, literally 30 years ago. So bear that in mind. Maybe the statistics have changed. The transition from pill use to smoking, or pill use or smoking to IV use functions as a shackle to the street economy. And this is from a journal article entitled Women Who Use Drugs. And with Celeste Rivas Hernandez, I mean, we had no indication at all whatsoever that Celeste ever used a substance before her autopsy report came out. But even before her autopsy report came out, we had grown men, including, like, for example, like Mark Garagos, speculating that it was just probably an accidental OD. Already blaming this little girl, this child, for her own death with no evidence, no proof. Because if she ever did a drug, then maybe she deserved it. If you ever did a drug, you're a killer, if in the Nick Reiner situation. Okay, so this is just something I wanted to bring up and bring to y'all's attention. That statistic was alarming and scary to me. Oh, maybe I did click that. Maybe I did save that link. Let's go to this one. Hold on. Yes. Go Gabrielle. Probably my cousin. Look how she spelled go. Traffickers do this to keep women and girls from running because nobody believes drug addicts. If they still run, they resort to doing stuff to the bottoms of these girls' feet so they can't run. We encountered a 13-year-old Latina girl who was being bleeped by her dad that happened to. They cut up the bottoms of their feet. This is chattel slavery tactics. Okay? Slavery is alive and well in the United States of Louisiana. I don't know why I said that, girl. Somebody over there, slavery in Louisiana. Yeah, there probably is going on over there. In the United States of America, slavery is alive and well. It is. Might be illegal, but they doing it. They doing it to children. They doing it to adults. They doing it to girls. They doing it to boys. They doing it to men. They doing it to women. And some of it, yes, is SUL, but other type of trafficking is slavery. People getting their passports taken by their bosses, people not being able to leave, people having to live with the people they work for and not being able to go out on their own. That is slavery. Cutting up the bottom of your own daughter's feet so she don't run away, and then you're basically, you know what, to other men, you know what, is slavery. That's what they used to do to enslaved people during chattel slavery. Disfigure and harm the bottoms of their feet so they couldn't run away. And to hear Aunt Heffy say it, I just don't understand the culture and the lifestyle. Some little girls be fast and grown and thrust theyself. Let me read a couple of y'all's comments here. Let's see. Hold on, I gotta. Scaramucci, get the fuck off my channel. Obviously, you're lost. Okay, anyway, back to what I was doing. I just want to remind y'all, this is my channel and I do what I want to say, what I want to talk about, what I want. If you don't like it, you can literally leave. You can also unsubscribe and I will not notice. Goodbye. All right. So then we have this other update. And also, I'll be here as long as I feel like. I'm not on a schedule. Put a 5 in the chat. You're not on a schedule. You don't have nowhere to be. You could just be here as long as I'm here. Put a 5 in the chat. Let's just show the scurries of the world. Let's just show them. We don't have nowhere to be. Okay. This is you have now found yourself on the anti side of YouTube. Okay. This is where the antis are. I'm happily, proudly an anti. This is not the 6-7 side of YouTube. Okay, this is not where you come to hurry up, like get the news, go bye. No. This is the auntie side of YouTube. This is where the aunties are. This is where the uncles are. This is where the cousins are, and our rushing era is over. We don't rush. We're done with that. We're not doing that. Okay, goodbye. Don't rush me. It's Sunday, for God's sake. Anyway. Okay, apparently David went to a high school prom. I don't know, this could be AI, but I did see it on Reddit, so I do want to show it. I will say, if you just kind of like blur out David in it because he's full of demons, this is a beautiful top or whatever, coat, jacket. I don't know what you would call that, blazer. It's beautiful, gorgeous. Everything else about the picture, demon possessed, and I rebuke. Okay. Apparently, this person went to a high school that David went to their prom. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that anything like untoward happened because David only just turned 21. I mean, he just turned 18 in like 2022. So I don't know. Wait, when did he turn 18? 2023. March 2023. It says, a girl that I know took David to go to our prom with her, and this photo is the one she took. I look to David and look so uncomfortable. Besides that, I'm not really sure how this girl feels after all the things that's going on right now. She might have the worst moment ever. So, girl, I mean, I don't know. Like, literally, ChatGPT could have made this, but this was one of the updates I wanted to show y'all. The David went to prom thing. Again, I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing, but like, imagine if he was over 18 and he went to that prom. That'd be crazy. Gunkles, all of them. We're here. We're proud. Yep. CSI anti-unit. That's us, Jenna. Look, we need shirts. Anti-CIA. CIA antis unit. Exactly. Flojo said, check my email. Okay, let me check it. I'd rather go alone to prom than with David, somebody said. Okay, let me check my email. Flojo TV, I think, might have sent me something relevant. You know what song is stuck in my head right now? All of a sudden. How's it go? In my head, there's only you now. What's the right name of that song? This world falls on me. In this world, there's real and make-believe. Oh my God, what is that song? Why is it stuck? It's like in the front of my head, like screaming right here. You love me, but you don't know who I am. Who sings that? Okay. Celeste, seen by Incoherent. What is this, Flojo? Video? I recognized the girl that was found dead in David's car. What is this? Oh, okay. Oh, nice. Okay. So Flojo TV, shout out to Flojo TV. Sorry, it just took me a second to get my head around what this was. Celeste seen incoherent by a store employee. Now, this might have been something that came out previously. I'm not sure I ever covered it though. Maybe I did. I don't exactly remember. Okay, so Celeste seen incoherent by store employee, and this is apparently a store employee, and the caption on the video says, I recognize the girl that was found dead in David's car. Oh my God. When's this from, Flojo?
As many of you may know, a body was recently found dismembered in a Tesla belonging to David, a popular singer. Today, the body was identified as 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Right when the picture went public of Celeste, I instantly recognized her from 2024 in April when her and David came together to a jewelry shop I used to work at.
Okay, so April 2024 is a big deal of a date because that was the last time of many times that Celeste was officially reported to be missing. And he said, I recognized her. They came into a jewelry store, he said, a jewelry shop.
Together to a jewelry shop I used to work at. I remember this moment so vividly because when they came in, there was something off about Celeste. She was very high, and she was with David, who I recognized because he's a popular singer, but she was very obviously younger than him, and she was very out of it. I was helping her out with jewelry.
I am very concerned. It's been 42 seconds. I haven't seen this kid blink once. People are saying, does he blink? Does he blink? It looks like he doesn't. It looks like he don't blink. I see y'all saying it like, why is he not blinked? Maybe he has one of those AI things. Like there are AI masks you can put on that like make it look like, your eyes are open.
Place. So that situation really stuck in my brain, and I really remembered her popular
I
singer,
rewinded it.
but she was very obviously younger than him, and she was very out of it. I was helping her out with jewelry, and she was all over the place. So that situation really stuck in my brain, and I really remembered her face. So when her picture was released to the public, I instantly recognized her as the girl that was with David. And the fact that she was...
Oh, wait, hold on. Shout out. We have some more content creators in the chat. Shout out and huge. Y'all need to go over there to his channel, maybe after this video, but maybe after the live stream. But we are going to be talking about a video from True Crime with Strategic Eyes. Shout out to him, and thank you to him and his research team. He's got a research team over there. Where they came up with a whole theory over there about some of the things we've talked about in the past, putting it together in a new and different way about a specific anime or a manga. Girl, I don't, obviously I'm in my auntie era. I am not the anime manga, audience or whatever. So I'm not trying to say the wrong thing or whatever, but basically like a Japanese cartoon or a Japanese graphic novel that got turned into I'm still tripping up on saying the United States of Louisiana a while ago. That's so funny to me. Anyway, so yes, we actually, shout out to you, and I do have your video coming up. I haven't even started covering that yet. So I don't know if you have time, you're going to be around or whatever. If not, hopefully you'll be able to come back around and watch that, because we will be talking about your theory and your research team's theory. Thank you so much for coming by the live stream. Wait, I didn't even read the whole thing. I was too excited. Thank you very much for the shout out. We often will react to your information. Oh, nice. And always make sure to direct the audience to your show. Thank you so much. Yeah, sure. Yeah. We all want justice for Celeste. Shout out to you. We have Flojo in here, True Crime Strategic in here, and Kadisha Lynn was in here earlier. Sometimes we'll get Rabbit down the rabbit hole news. And all of us are doing our part to try and get this information out to the public. And I really do appreciate being part of kind of a community in a way, even though none of us are really like, chit-chatting all the time. We're kind of all working toward the same greater good, I think. Oh, and Sloan. How could I forget Sloan?
Is just unbelievably sad and horrific, and my heart just goes out to the family and her friends and everybody who's affected by her death. But there is a lot of questions around this and a lot of unanswered questions. So please find answers.
Okay. And, a lot of people were saying a similar sentiment to what, Lizzie said here. And I kind of agree to some extent. She said, I still wonder about what he's saying and if it could be true. It's been 7 months. You're just now coming forward, right when everything is still super popular. I don't know. I just don't trust people. And maybe it could be for clout. Well, I do think, for one thing, I do think that this person did make this video a long time ago. It was months and months ago that came out. But I do understand what you're saying on the other part. We don't know what anybody's true motives for covering these cases are. And especially when somebody is coming forward and claiming to have exclusive sources, exclusive information, but they don't really have any receipts. I think it's fair. I think it's responsible even to question, what is their motivation? Could they be lying? Could they be telling the truth? I don't necessarily think that guy is lying. However, I don't know him. I do think that was the reason that I didn't specifically cover his video in the beginning, because it was just kind of like no way to know for sure. But I mean, now at this point, I think it's worth like at least looking at. Let me see. We have another one from Flojo. Oh, okay. Another prom photo. Okay, cool. Thank you for sending me this too. Let me pull this one up. All right. So we have another prom photo of David with the girl he went to, the supposed allegedly went to prom with. This kind of does, again, grain of salt. I wasn't at the prom that they went to. So possibly, I don't know, could be AI or something. Don't look like it to me, but you just never know in this day and age. It is a beautiful suit he has. I don't know if that's a custom or what. That is a beautiful suit. It reminds me of like Indian clothes. That's why I probably like it the most, but this is pretty too. Okay, shout out to her. She's working, serving, slaying. This is a cool like little outfit. I mean, if you just cut the head off, not really, literally, just of the picture. So there's another photo. Thank you to FloJo TV for sending that over. Yeah, no, we don't know anything. We don't know anything. I certainly don't know anything. I'll tell y'all that. I don't know anything. Apparently that was his friend's sister he went with. Interesting. Abraham said, I would rock that suit. Okay, so let me see. Do I have any? Okay, hold on. I think that was all the email tips. Just double check. Hand tattoo. Oh, we ended up getting an actual hand tattoo. This is a very funny screenshot because I'm in it. This is so meta. Okay, hold on. I'm pulling up another picture. Apparently, David ended up getting a tattoo on his hand over possibly it looks like actually it was on the other hand. Sarah. Thank you, Sarah Lynn, for sending me this picture. Let me pull this one up. Apparently, David ended up getting a tattoo right on that spot on his hand. Now, it could be, look, she took a screenshot and there I am. It could be that David had his camera flipped, but this looks like to be the left hand, and I think the other one was a right hand. This also looks like it could be pen. See how this kind of gets thicker here? And then how it kind of fades off here. This right here makes me think it could be just like ink from a pen, but it's dark. You know, we don't really know. The David's Closet account posted it, but in any event, it's very interesting. We of the DID community rebuke Itami. Thank God. Thank God, girl. Thank you for the $2 Canadian, Kaylee Alicia. And the DID community said, nope, no, not us. Valkyrie said, I wonder how many prison tats he is about to get. Thanks so much to Danae McIntyre for the $4.99 super chat. 5 cousins slay. Yes, 5. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, cousin. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to Millie Mills becoming a new member. Okay. What else do I have on here? We are going to get to True Crime with Strategic Eyes. Video eventually. It's kind of like I have it closer to not the end, but it'll take a large portion of today's videos because there's clips, there's receipts, there's stuff. So buckle up. We're going to be here. Okay. Y'all got somewhere to be? You have to circle back around after. All right. So let me remove this one and pull up the next link that I had here, which is another revisit of a song. Somebody posted this in the Davidiots Reddit about 5 hours ago. These lyrics are too accurate for it to be coincidental. He's literally saying the time he murmured her that night when he lured her into his house. Now, I do want to say I don't think it was 11 p.m. And this is why. I think it had to be before 8 p.m. Because David had an event at 8 p.m. that night, didn't he? We have to go back and look at the... Oh, he had long nails. I didn't even... His nails aren't that long. His nails aren't that long, but people are saying they want to see his nails. Okay, fine. Hold on. They're long-ish for a guy, I guess. But, like, they're not that long. Like, they don't go beyond his finger. Like, probably, like, this is where the nail bed is. Like, I guess it could be shorter, but... I don't really consider that to be like that long of nails. If they were to go beyond his finger, like if they were like even a few millimeters longer, yeah. But it looks like he just got like a gel mani and they kind of grew out and he's waiting to go back to get them. Which, I mean, whatever. I mean, for me, it don't really bother me that much if guys have like that length of nails. It doesn't bother me that much. But yeah, people are saying they don't like David's nails. Okay. All right. So this is another lyric. Again, I'm just kind of putting some of these disclaimers in because just to show, just to tell y'all, like, I don't believe and agree with every single thing that I'm showing y'all. I'm just showing it to you because I saw it. And you are free to make up your own mind. But these lyrics from one of the songs that he has is, it's 11 p.m. Open the door, let me in. We got problems. I know we can fix tonight. Please don't act like I owe you, 'cause I've been missing the old you. You do the same thing they all do. I know I cannot control you, but we all make mistakes and I won't hold it against you. Is this real love or do you only pretend to? You think you can play me just like all your friends do? I ain't one of your little friends. Okay, I added that part. He said, I won't let you play me. It's been a long day, I know, but it's fine. I know I always show up at the wrong time. It's 11 p.m. You're not mine. It's 11 p.m. Goodbye. It's 11 p.m. Open the door, let me in. We got problems. I know we can fix tonight. It's been a long day, I know, but it's fine. I always show up at the wrong time. It's 11 p.m. in your mind. It's 11 p.m. Close your eyes. Now, I also want to know, how did Celeste get to David's house? Was it an Uber? Did somebody pick her up? That night, that the alleged killing happened, who brought her 80 miles? Steve Fischer said it was about 80 miles away from Lake Elsinore, where she's from, in Riverside County. 80 miles to LA. I mean, that's a long Uber ride, if I do say so myself. Maybe David's manager, are they saying? I mean, I don't know. I don't think she walked. So, I don't know. Anyway, that was one of the other, things I wanted to tell you. Looking back, it's kind of weird. Now, Harvey Levin is making much ado about this word may. I think it was about 13 minutes in. Now, these two disgruntled old coots are out here running cover for David with the face skin filter on. Okay. You're not going to convince me he ain't got a face skin filter on. And do I? Nope. No, I don't. I spend a long time on my makeup every day, so I don't have to be using these filters because it freaks me out. Okay. Harvey could use a filter. You know what I mean? But anyway, these two are basically running cover for David. They're just going out of their way to pretty much just make the prosecutors look bad, make the cops look bad, and which is, that's their right to do. They're always acting like they got all these exclusive sources, et cetera, et cetera. And, maybe they do, maybe they don't, but they've been very wrong in the case before. And I think a lot of people are going to watch this video that was streamed by these two disgruntled men yesterday, just about almost 24 hours exactly ago. And they're going to feel like stressed out, like, oh no, the prosecutors are going to have some problems because of this. No, this is great news. Okay. What Harvey Levin and Mark Garagos are saying is great news, because what they're doing, in my opinion and belief, as per, if you listen to my video my letter that I wrote, that I read a while ago, I believe TMZ is a mouthpiece for David's legal team. I believe Mark Garagos in particular is out here running PR for David. And I think that so is Harvey Levin. They're trying to create these reasonable doubts. They're trying to create these circumstances where it's like, well, the defense could do this, the defense could do that. And now they have nothing left to stand on, because so much of the stuff that they were squawking about turned out to not be the case. Like, for example, that maybe Celeste Rivas Hernandez owed to the deed. Well, no, that's not true. They also said that Celeste's cause of death was going to be so difficult for the coroner to figure out. That's why it was taking so long. No, the coroner had it all figured out by December. So everything that they have kind of been trying to build the house upon, the foundation upon which they've been trying to build the the reasonable doubt upon, it just keeps crumbling away, because they are quite literally building a house upon the sand. Okay, girl. I mean, it's not strong. So here is Harvey's big speculation of the case. Okay, he thinks the big problem with the case is that the medical examiner doesn't know exactly the tool, the sharp instrument that resulted in Celeste unaliving, losing her life. Let me let y'all listen. Sowing doubt, exactly.
Never thought ever. They thought coming on the heels, mind you, major crimes, same unit in the DA's office, just had not one but two lawyers in the Nick Reiner case, both asked for more time. So coming on the heels of that, you're kind of reflexive. If you're the DA, you're thinking, oh, the defense is going to come in. We're going to dump 40 terabytes of information on them. They're going to say, we can't be ready, Your Honor. We need more time. We'll waive time. Give us 2 more months. Then they would have backfilled their case at that point, hoping that maybe he would say something stupid while he's in the 77th Street station, or that he would have made a phone call and said something stupid that would have been used as an admission that would tie him to the complaint.
So it's going to go before a judge for a prelim.
Okay, here's Harvey's theory here.
Is it going to have that the coroner, the medical examiner, equivocated by using the word may, that he may.
Okay, hold on. That actually wasn't the part. Let me do the transcript search. Because Harvey says it like so unequivocally. Speaking of equivocating. Okay. This is actually the very beginning of the video. So let's just start there. It's the 24-second mark.
If there were a poll, should David be electrocuted, put in front of a firing squad, in some way killed right now? Forget about a trial based on what people have heard. What percentage of people do you suppose in the climate we're in would vote for that?
Okay. He's about to say right now.
I'll tell you something. I read the autopsy report for Celeste Rivas, and there is one word in that autopsy report that I think is going to become the center of this trial, and I think it's a big problem for prosecutors. It's the word
okay, what could it possibly be? It's going to become a big problem for prosecutors. It's going to be one word that's going to be the big heart of the trial. Oh my God, what is the horrible Achilles heel of the prosecutor's case? What is it that's going to ruin the case?
Word in that autopsy report that I think is going to become the center of this trial, and I think it's a big problem for prosecutors. It's the word may. That they say in this autopsy report that Celeste may have had 2 puncture wounds in the abdomen and the chest.
False. That is straight up ass false effing news. False. I'm going to pull it up right now and show you what it actually says. Because these 2 little degenerate freaks, look, Duper's Delight is smiling. He knows it's not fucking true. Excuse my language. He knows it's not true what Harvey just said. It's not true. I want y'all to hear it one more time. Listen to the exact words Harvey says. Exactly. Listen to the exact words he says.
That I think is going to become the center of this trial, and I think it's a big problem for prosecutors. It's the word may. That they say in this autopsy report that Celeste may have had 2 puncture wounds in the abdomen and the chest.
That's not true. That's false. That's false. That's not true. I have the autopsy report myself right here. Why don't we take a look? And this is one of the reasons I had to write that note to the judge. Because, like, we can literally not even trust these idiots, these definitely long since needing to have been retired morons, to even get the public information right. So how do we know they ain't getting these exclusive behind the scenes information all that wrong? Huh? This is what it says. Per medical examiner's investigator's report. Medical examiner investigator's report. 15-year-old female, she's actually 14, Celeste, found dismembered, state of decomposition. Autopsy examination was limited to because of extensive postmortem changes. There are two, not there may be two. There are 2 penetrating wounds of the torso. That was determined to be her cause of death. What does it say on page 1? Cause of death. Multiple penetrating injuries. It doesn't say may have been penetrated. It says multiple penetrating injuries was the cause of death. She, in fact, and did indeed have 2 penetrating wounds of the torso with smooth edges. Now, you don't got to have an IQ higher than about 56 to think about the fact something with smooth edges could be a box cutter. It could be a sword. It could be a kitchen knife. It could be a katana. It could be a shiv. It could be something that was fashioned out of a barbed wire. We don't freaking know. The medical examiner did not say she may have been. What did this idiot say? Let me get his exact words. I got his transcript up here. The medical examiner does not say, quote, Celeste may have had 2 puncture wounds. Moron. Imbecile. Mashed potatoes for frontal lobe. Maybe Harvey Levin is the one that needs a conservatorship because his brain ain't operating. He can't even fucking read. The autopsy report does not say Celeste may have had 2 puncture wounds. It says unequivocally that her cause of death was in fact and indeed puncture wounds. She didn't maybe have them. They even drew a freaking picture of it from the front and the back. I'll show y'all those when we get to them. This thing's 26 pages long. And say shit about May. Does that say may? She may have had? She may have had puncture wounds? Or does it say she did? And it was 3/4 of an inch from 3 to 9 o'clock. 21 inches from the top of the head. This don't look like they equivocated at all. There's absolutely no equivocation. Harvey Levin's lying. Or maybe he's just too stupid to have this job. Maybe he's lost his mind. I personally think and believe this is not a fact because I don't know what's inside his mind. But it seems like the same demon that got David infested might have got Harvey infested. Because it certainly isn't the reading comprehension demon, that's for damn sure. There are. You know what the auxiliary verb are is? It means is, am, become, is, not may. The may that he's so hung up on is that the coroner doesn't know exactly what the weapon was that murdered Celeste. The coroner knows for sure Celeste was murdered. For sure Celeste was murdered. And the autopsy results say that on the very first page. You cannot get past the first page. How did she die? Multiple penetrating injuries. Not maybe. How did she die? Was it an accident? Nope. Somebody killed her. Now, that shit infuriates me. That they just lie like this. And then they're sitting there smiling with their big ugly honkers on their face. Look at them. Just disgusting freaks. Looking like they just crawled up themselves out of the pits of hell or Mount Mordor. Smiling in our faces with their skin filter on. Look at him smiling. Because he knows that's not what the hell that autopsy result says. But that's where we are in this case. If you can just back up from your emotions for 5 seconds, it's hard for me to do it too, but if you just could, they're having to make shit up to even run propaganda. They have nothing. The defense has nothing. They have nothing to work with because they're having to make shit up. The coroner did not say Celeste may have been stabbed. The coroner ruled the death to not only be a homicide, but specifically from multiple penetrating injuries. And the coroner doesn't want to say, oh, it was a knife. It was a railroad spike. it was a this, that, the other. The coroner doesn't want to say that because why? Because if the coroner goes out and starts making all this speculation about what it could have been, should have been, would have been, then they're going to do this song and dance all over again. So the coroner instead said it may have been a sharp instrument, but whatever it was, penetrated her body and killed her. You know what else David's lawyers never bothered to even come out and counter? That he had that nasty stuff on his phone. That he mutilated Celeste's body. That he hid the body. The lawyer didn't even bother making a statement denying those things. So as infuriating as it may be to see these two losers with their giant fucking ugly ass noses and their ugly faces and their crooked little mouths, while it may be infuriating to watch them sit here and just make shit up and pretend it's news, it's actually kind of a good thing because you know what it tells me? They have nothing to defend. They have no defense. Their defense is going to be making shit up. And hopefully the jury can see the truth. They're just making shit up. They're making it up. Oh, the coroner may have seen, that's going to be the whole case. It's going to be the whole case that the coroner doesn't know the exact murder weapon that murdered Celeste. Okay. Let me know how that one goes for y'all. We'll be sitting by. We'll be sitting by watching. And it would seem like with all that money, they would know a plastic surgeon that could do something with that nose, especially this one. I can't look at nothing else on the man's face other than when he's smiling and trying to dupe us. Anyway. So I think they're in big trouble, the defense. I don't think they have shit to defend him. Okay, then there was this video, which we had seen, but I do think, everybody else is kind of revisiting it. So knowing what we know now, let's take a walk down memory lane and remind ourselves what David was doing over there in his house with Celeste. This is David and Celeste Rivas Hernandez, who's now dead, who was found dismembered with her pinky and her finger missing in his trunk.
Where's your media training?
I personally don't.
Yo, I media trained you.
No, you did.
That's controversial.
It's controversial of raping kids.
And that's when he says,
Really it's been a good one. Bye.
Delete everything.
Oh my. Delete everything. Delete everything. Everything goes. Everything.
So now, knowing what we know, this girl has now died. And you know how she was found. So what's controversial about that? Now, Steve Fischer, shout out to him, one of the heroes of this case. Steve Fischer has now done an interview, a few, but one he did with Gorianna, where he says that this was actually Celeste starting to realize how much of a creepy loser David really was. To hear Steve Fischer say it, David was kind of like, if you could even call it that, cheating on Celeste. He had this house right here where Celeste would stay in. And this was the other house on Doheny Place. Then he had the so-called mansion that was, which was raided. And then he had another house that he was living in very recently when he got arrested. And SF Investigates said, in this video right here, this is like maybe early 2024, Celeste had kind of already started to realize that David was a creepy loser. And of course, he probably had his talons in her, and she probably was, like we discussed earlier, maybe running from something or someone and all of that. But this apparently was said by Celeste on purpose because she's like, well, kind of like pretty much the implication is you do it. So what's so controversial about that if it's something you do? And I even predicted that this could have been what was happening. It's like when somebody's 12, 13 years old and somebody comes around that's, 18, 19 years old, the 18, 19-year-old is a nasty pervert. But I could see the 12-year-old being like, oh my gosh, this is the answer to my prayers. Like, especially if they're in a family situation that's not the best, or, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I could see, a 12, 13-year-old in their little child mind thinking, oh, this is the answer to my prayers. This person's going to protect me. They're going to keep me safe. They're an adult. They can, they're whatever. But as that 12-year-old becomes 13, becomes 14, 15, 17, especially once you're in your 20s, you start realizing that that was a scrub, a loser, a weirdo. What were you doing hanging around with 12-year-old? This has happened to most of us. Not that we got abducted, but, being 12, 13, you have a crush on a senior or something. Now, thankfully, none of the seniors around would have ever gave me the time of day because they knew my daddy would beat them up. But what if they don't know your dad will beat them up? What if they don't care about your dad beating them up? What if they'll kill your daddy too? So, thinking back, on being 15 years old, and they'd be like, 18 even year olds, 21-year-olds. Those dudes were way older than us when we were 15. But once you start getting 16, 17, and you turn 18 and you can go to the bars, you start realizing those dudes were losers. Those dudes that would stand out in front of the gas station and rub their hands together and catcall. Oh my God. Oh, well, losers. You start to get the ick. I think Celeste might have been starting to get the ick. I think she might have been starting to get the ick. At least according to, Steve Fischer, who said that when she said this, that was on purpose. And you could even see her face. Like, she looks like she's finna say something she means. Let's watch it again. I want to do a little face analysis.
I personally don't.
I media trained you.
No, you didn't.
That's controversial.
She said, no, you didn't.
Controversial of raping kids.
Really good.
Okay,
It's been a good one. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Mwah, 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 mwah. Oh my! Delete everything. Delete everything. Everything goes. Everything.
If you read those comments too, like,
I personally don't.
If you read these comments that are coming up through the live chat, like, when are we getting the clip? Okay, wait, hold on. David, can you hold on? So she says what she says, and then the chat starts to erupt. Look, people laugh emojis. Look. Yo, David and Celeste island trip. Remember he was talking about wanting to get an island? Remember talking about the island earlier? He's going to retire and go to an island. In stream, someone said, yo, in stream. Oh, no. Canceled. Public statement from David's girl, someone said. Public statement from David's girl. So there were already always people that were like, nah, she's cooked. And when is your next tour? You are done. You are done. Ayo. And then they ended the stream. But look at Celeste's face. That looks like the face of somebody that knows what she just said and did it on purpose. And Steve Fischer said she was smart. Obviously, he trained her on the topics you should and shouldn't talk about in the media because they may be scandalous or controversial. Maybe most artists are taught early on. Yeah, and that's why I thought David might be trying to get Celeste to be like an artist, to work for him as an artist or something. Like, I kind of think he had this idea that he was going to be a mogul. And remember his Itami character, the anime, Japanese for pain, like cult leader. He was a cult leader. David self-described Itami as a cult leader and his alter ego, or whatever. Do I think she had a Freudian slip? Nope. I think she said it on purpose. Especially after what Steve Fischer just came out and said. Okay, so anyway, I just thought we should revisit that. Now, we also saw this picture. Steve Fischer recovered this from a camera that he found in the house. Somebody did post a theory. I'm going to say before I even read this theory, I don't think this theory is what had happened. Somebody said, could this picture have been taken after he unalived Celeste? No, I don't think so. This picture was supposedly taken in January 2025. Celeste didn't pass away, according to prosecutors, until April 2025. So this was 3 months before. However, you do see a smooth, sharp instrument in his hand. And I do wonder if this right here could have possibly made those ridges on his hand that we saw earlier. I mean, that's my question. I don't know if it did. But that's pretty much, that picture. I wanted to show y'all that. He did have access to knives or a knife. It does look pretty sharp. And there were people, like I said, who were kind of onto this and who did kind of have an idea of what was going on and who seemed to explicitly know what was going on with this relationship. And now I don't know what was going on because I wasn't there, but I do know what has been alleged by prosecutors. They have alleged that David was engaged in an illegal, against the law, criminal relationship with Celeste from the time of September 2023, when Celeste would have turned 13. She looks sick of his crap. She does. She does. This would have been more than a year before she was unalived. Right. Yes, exactly. There's no way he used that little knife. No, listen. Okay. So there's good point. There's two separate sharp instruments David would need. The first one happened, according to prosecutors, April 23rd, 2025. So like about a year ago. That was when she was punctured and died. But David did not dismember her right away. No one did. She was not dismembered right away, according to prosecutors. It was like almost 2 full weeks went by till the dismemberment happened. So I don't personally believe that the dismembering tool is the same as the poke unalive tool. I don't think it's the same. I think there was a small handheld tool for the pokes. That's what killed her. And then maybe a little knife, maybe a little box cutter, something like that. Then I think what actually dismembered was something else. Maybe even a specialized tool, saw from a butcher, something like that. I don't think that little thing in his hand is what he dismembered anything with. I don't think that at all. I think that it was something else, probably a specialized tool, because I don't think y'all understand how difficult it would be to cut through a femur. And all the other tissue, the whole 2 legs were cut clean through, plus they were cut in 2 places. Plus the arms were cut clean through in 2 places as well. Wait. Was the arms 2 places or just one? Just one in my memory. Right. It wasn't a 3D saw. I'm just, seriously, I'm going to block 3D saw from my fucking chat. That is the stupidest shit I ever heard in my life. Y'all have clearly never been around anybody gutting a deer. You cannot cut through human bone with a 3D saw. That shit is printed out of plastic. That's like saying you cutting through a diamond with a plastic saw. You just can't. It's just physically not going to work. You cannot cut through bone with a 3D printed plastic saw. Please. Anyway, it's just so stupid. Like, I can't believe people are actually even entertaining that. And I also, you know what else I think is so stupid? I can't believe they're entertaining. And I feel like the police are either on purpose or maybe they're so stupid. They're, whatever. Maybe they're lying to us or maybe they're so stupid. Another thing that makes absolutely no sense to me at all whatsoever, that body was sitting in that trunk rotting for 4 months in the hottest record temperatures in LA. And nobody smelled anything. Nobody was reporting a smell and the flies and any of that. And just 3 days later, after it sat there for 4 months, rotting in the car, you would have been able to smell that blocks away. That don't add up. That's stupid. That don't make sense to me. Y'all can, maybe you want to believe something stupid. That don't make sense to me. I think that body was moved at some point between the 4 months. And I do believe that it was either refrigerated or frozen. It doesn't make any sense to me that a tattoo on a finger, that shit would have been skeletalized. Her skull was skeletalized, but the tattoo wasn't deteriorated. That don't make sense to me. Now, I'm not a coroner. Maybe something, maybe this, maybe that, maybe the refrigeration thing. I could be wrong on that. I don't think that body was in that trunk for no 4 months and nobody smelled it. I just don't. It was record-setting summer in LA. It just don't make no sense to me. I'm going to need more explanation. And yeah, the police that ticketed it didn't notice the smell. The tow guy who was all up under the hood didn't notice the smell. Okay. Okay, if there's a 3D printer that uses metal, then maybe. I still don't think it was a 3D printed saw. We watched actually a video of them putting together a 3D printed saw the other day on the internet. I don't think that David has the mental capacity to even do it. There were so many different parts and pieces. You had to print them out the right way. And then he would definitely need more than one. Even if it was a metal saw, he would have needed a 3D print a whole bunch of those. And then why would you 3D print a saw when all that stuff is traceable back to through technological means instead of just going out somewhere and buying one? Like with cash at a junkyard or a thrift store. It just don't make sense to me. It don't make sense to me. Are hacksaw blades blue? I don't think so. The chat is blocked for everybody except money subs? That should not be the case. Did one of the mods do that? Hold on, let me go check it. That shouldn't be. You do have to subscribe, but you don't have to be paying. Hold on, let me go check that right now and make sure. Hold on. I'm just checking to make sure that y'all, can type and make comments. Also, thank you, Amber, for letting me know that and for the $1.99 super chat. Okay, so what I'm seeing here is that it has to be subscribers for 1 minute or longer, but not paid. So hopefully that's been fixed. Thanks so much to Amber for that $1.99. Thank you to Justice Gypsy for the $2 super chat. TMZ should be called BSF bullshit freaks. Seriously, full of freaks. Thanks so much, Ruby 7 Red for the $20 super chat. Thank you. Okay, so it's all good now. Okay, cool. Okay, everybody can chat. Okay, that's fine. All right. Okay, so what now? Okay, so now I want to talk about some people that did try to warn. There was some people did try to warn. Wigs and T, I don't know who that is, posted romantic homicide being streamed a lot, 1 million times or something. Y'all, he is a P3DO. He is a PDF file. He literally dated a beep, beep, beep. Insta deleted all the comments on his account calling him out. So there were people trying to call David out. Look, this was posted 81 weeks ago. There were people, that's over a year ago, in his chat, on his Instagram account, trying to call out this behavior. And the comments would get deleted. Somebody said it's so crazy that so many people tried to warn us about D4VD, whatever. Tarps are blue and plastic, just saying. I know y'all have seen, if you're from Louisiana, you're from Texas, you're from Mississippi, you've seen the blue FEMA tarps. Okay. Put a 6 in the chat, you've seen the blue FEMA tarps. All right. They're very easy to come by. The government will even hand them out for free. Okay. They're very easy to come by, those blue FEMA tarps. And a lot of times they'll wrap up cadavers and things in those blue tarps. I'm colloquially calling them FEMA tarps, but you can get them from elsewhere. And thank you so much to Lady Lowe for the $1.99 super chat. That could be the bits of plastic. Look, a lot of people are saying it. 666. A lot of people 666. I'm thinking the main body of the saw was 3D printed and then he used an actual blade. Could have been. That's possible. I don't think he put that together. Me personally. Not here in Scotland. Shout out to the Scottish cousins. I love Scottish people. That's like my people. I love Scottish people and Irish people and Welsh people. I love them. Yellow, black, blue, orange, some colors of hacksaw blades. Okay, they do have colors. Okay, interesting. Maybe the body parts themselves were wrapped in some sort of plastic. Could have been. Because they are like waterproof or water repellent or whatever on those tarps. I remember because we had to put some on the middle of our double wide trailer because during Hurricane Katrina or Hurricane Gustav, I don't remember which one now, so many years ago, the double wide came apart and we started getting black mold. And so we had to put FEMA tarps over the top. Still traumatized by that. Yeah, but people were trying to warn and the signs were there. Okay. Meanwhile, we had SZA saying she needed David when she was younger and all the whole diaspora needs. Now, here's another person who supposedly, allegedly tried to warn. Now, At risk of being called all kinds of names, this guy kind of looks pretty similar to Celeste. So I'm wondering what he really knows. Could this be a distant cousin? Could this just be, a symbolic cousin? I don't know. But he's like, it's crazy to me because he was like, I'm one of the people that was trying to expose David in 2024. Nobody was listening to me. So shout out to him, Ethan Maldonado. He said, I've been trying to tell y'all this. I don't know if this is worth posting out this video on my For You page, the guy who exposed David in 2024 for dating, you know what. Oh, wait, hold on. The volume, for some reason, is by default not on. Okay, hold on.
It's genuinely crazy how people don't know that I exposed David back in 2024. Just no one listened. The video got like 100 likes and people in the comments were like dumbing down what I was saying. They weren't taking it serious. But you can still find the video. It was re-uploaded by other people. If you guys can't find it, I will repost it. But yeah, this kid I knew from high school, his name was Gonzalo, aka Ponzalo. He's the one who sent me that photo. And he knew someone, I guess, that knew Celeste or something, and he got that photo of David giving thousands of dollars to little kids. And I genuinely thought that shit was crazy.
So this guy, Ethan Maldonado, he went to high school with another guy by the name of Gonzalo. But Gonzalo went by a nickname, Punzalo. And I remember seeing Punzalo screenshots from back in the day of like him saying like, what about the 13-year-old? What about the this? What about the that? So Punzalo, he was on it. And apparently that's the same guy that got the picture. Remember the picture from the parking lot where David is there and he's apparently handing something over to some other people. And it looks like maybe he's paying them in money, but I don't know. I didn't see dollar bills. It looked like maybe a bag of something, but like now it's widely believed by people that was David paying hush money in the parking lot in Celeste Rivas Hernandez's neighborhood in Lake Elsinore, which again is like over an hour away from Los Angeles, where they were, finding things happening to, where they picked Celeste up from and all that. So, and where Celeste ultimately, according to prosecutors, lost her life. So apparently, allegedly, David was out there, maybe, perhaps, I don't know. I wasn't there. But he was perhaps maybe out there paying somebody off in Celeste's neighborhood. And Punzalo apparently got that picture too. That's news.
Photo, and he knew someone, I guess, that knew Celeste or something, and he got that photo of David giving thousands of dollars to little kids. And I genuinely thought that shit was crazy. He told me not to show anyone. I was like, oh yeah, I won't show anyone. But deep down inside of me, I knew I was gonna expose that shit. And a little bit later, months later, I finally just make a video about it, exposing it. And yeah, that shit was genuinely crazy. This was back in 2024, bro.
Wow.
Only if TikTok was fair, like blowing up on TikTok.
And I've been there, Ethan, in my life too. I've tried very hard to expose things, people, injustices. And it's like, why is it when, other people say things, they get attention, they get, the attention the topic deserves. When I say it, I get sued fraudulently and falsely for defamation. I have to fight for my freaking life for the next 6 years, and nobody does anything about the people that lied about how someone died. So look, listen, I'm very sympathetic to trying to expose something sinister before even more sinister stuff happens and nobody listening to you. I mean, that is crazy. I do know that feeling, and it's very infuriating, but all we can really do is the right thing each and every time we have the opportunity to do so. Thanks so much to Miranez. A new blade can have blue film on them. Yeah, and it's crazy. Shout out to the Irish cousins. Thank you for the 249 euros. A new blade could have blue film on them. No, I don't want this showing. Go away. Okay. Sawzall. I definitely heard my dad talking about those in my life. Let me see. Oh. This could be a possibility. Sawzall, $150. And I guess you just buy a really strong blade for it. Oof. Anyway, okay. So what else? So that was like, people trying to people who were trying to warn, the signs were there. That was that segment. Okay, so now there's another theory here. Somebody actually left. Oh, is it Erin Marinez? She just read one of her comments right now. She commented this on a recent live that I did here. Let me pull it up here. This is her theory. She said, because remember, Celeste was found missing. She was found missing her pinky and her ring finger on her left hand. Now, some people say maybe that finger was cut off because that finger, the left hand finger, had the word David on it. The name David was on the ring finger. Now, Steve Fischer did come out and confirm that is true. She did have a David tattoo. But on the other hand, on the right finger, on this one, she had a the inside, she had a tattoo that said, shh. He didn't cut that off. So it's like, why would he cut off the one that says David and he wouldn't cut off the one that says, shh? Well, people have theories. Okay. So here's one such theory. She said, I looked up pinky finger. My very quick Google search says that in Japanese mafia culture, and I don't know if y'all know this or not, there's a very thriving Japanese mafia in Japan. Like there's competing groups and stuff. The anime, if you break a pinky promise, the finger gets cut off. This finger also could represent a romantic connection. Okay, so that's one theory. Why did the pinky get cut off? Some people are saying it was because it was supposed to be a trophy. A trophy. Gamer for Nintendo said trophy. His trophy. Brown Sugar said his trophy for sure. He copied an anime story. We're going to be getting into that. The Yazuka. Yes. Thank you. Sneaky Side for reminding me the name of the Yazuka. Cause I didn't want to say the wrong thing. And I couldn't remember exactly. Has been going on a long time before David. Yes. A lot of people do have the tattoo, which has led a lot of people to ask, is that in and of itself gang activity? Like, is David also just swept up in something way bigger than him and everybody's got to get that tattoo? I don't know. These are theories people have thrown out. They usually make you cut your own finger off, huh? The string theory. Mention the theory about the mafia. Someone LOL'd me. I was like, look it up. There's snitching or if you leave the mob. And like this too. I mean, somebody pointed out earlier, maybe David tried to leave the mob and now this is why they're getting him. Maybe it was a sacrificial finger, somebody said. Oh my God, is this true? Pikachu said U.S. military members were taking fingers from people as trophies. Oh my God, yuck. Hope not. That's nasty. So that's one theory. Now, we've arrived at the point in the story where we're now going to talk about the theory that I had heard from True Crime with Strategic Eyes. Literally this morning, I was eating my toast watching this. Okay. So it's a long video. We definitely not watching the whole video or even like very much of it, because I do think y'all should go and check this video out when you have a moment. It's an hour and a half long. It's just him there and he's talking about all these different theories and he's talking about his research crew who has, helped him compile a lot of this data. He was in the chat earlier. He may come back around in the comments later, but y'all check him out. One other thing I wanted to wrap up real quick. There was a chainsaw. Just to remind y'all, there was a chainsaw that was found in David's house. I wanted to wrap this part up here. This is a News Nation article from December 31st. So this would have been after this would have been after the coroner already figured out and marked the cause of death. That happened around December 19th, they said, or 25th, something like December 19th, I think. And so this is New Year's Eve. Private investigator Steve Fischer revealed an unused chainsaw was found inside David's home that he was staying in. This comes 2 weeks. This is a 4-month-old article. And I know so much stuff has happened in this case that makes you forget, this thing and that thing happened. But there was indeed and in fact a chainsaw found in David's house, but it was not used. So this also further strengthens my personal theory that I think he took the body somewhere to dismember it, like a butcher, a slaughterhouse, a pig farm, another type of farm, something like that. I think that he used specialized tools to do it. They did also say this chainsaw was not used. It was an unused chainsaw. On Monday, TMZ reported that David Burke is likely to be indicted in connection to the murder. There's no purpose for a chainsaw to be at the rental house. They certainly were not in charge of, the trees or anything, trimming the trees. It still had the protective shield over the chain itself. And also there was a burn cage. So you got to wonder what this plan was. This is an article from last year, December. There was a chainsaw found in the house. Unused though. Supposedly. Okay. All right. So now, let me close some of these tabs too. Because my tabs start running my computer hot and then it gets slow. Okay. So he made this video. It's an hour and a half long. It just came out 14 hours ago. He just streamed it. And he talks about, like I said at the beginning of the video, he talks about a lot of stuff I've already talked about. All of us have already talked about a lot of this stuff. But the way he puts this theory together is something brand new. All right. That I personally haven't fully seen. Now, first of all, and I strongly encourage y'all to go and watch that video. David, and we're going to get to the different points he makes here, but I want to remind you, David has an alter ego. He's already talked about it. Itami. Itami is the villain of his album, Withered. The album Withered that came out the same week Celeste Rivas Hernandez took her last breath, according to the prosecutors, right? He had this album coming out. The ticket sales were announced on the 24th for the tour. She died on the 23rd. Okay. So he was cleaning it up. He was tying up the loose ends or the loose strings that were about to become visible, we'll say. Okay. Yes. True Crime with Strategic Eyes is the name of his channel. And, somebody remind me in the comments after this live. I'll even link in the description box his video. I just didn't think that I was doing 1,000 other things, but, I'll link his video specifically in the description box. Y'all gotta remind me when I get off here. His alter ego, Sasha Fierce. If only. Okay. So I want to remind y'all, David has an alter ego. He's already admitted this before. He calls it Itami, which is the Japanese word for pain. And Itami is supposedly the villain of the Withered album and makes David feel withered. Okay, so I want to remind you of this by going to my own video, BJ Investigates, and let you hear it from him yourself. Itami before already, but Itami is pretty much the star of the album. His name in Japanese supposedly means pain, and he is weaving his way into all David's relationships. He's the villain of the album. He's ruining David's relationships, he's inducing trauma, and he's the Asian of chaos.
He's basically the Asian of chaos in this scenario.
He said that.
So is Itami attached to this album? And that's Japanese for pain.
Absolutely, yeah. Itami is the villain of this album. He's the one that is making me withered and feel these emotions like grief and pain and confusion. He's the one that is weaving his way into my relationships and ruining them and inducing trauma and things like that.
He's like, once people hear the album, it's going to click for everyone at the same time. This Itami, what he did.
But once they hear this interlude and hear the project, it all kind of connects and it's kind of going to click for everybody at the same time. I'm so excited to see what that kind of looks like in real time.
And then he's like, okay, and I want to also like keep introducing. Now, I want to remind you what that interlude was, because even in this video I made 6 months ago, October 2025, just a month after Celeste Rivas Hernandez was found in that car, I made this video and I pointed out how freaking weird it is. How weird it is that out of all the questions this Zach Sang character could be asking, he specifically asked about the interlude. Now, do you remember what the interlude was? I got the lyrics right here. Okay. It's called Invisible String Theory Interlude. Okay. So I got a question. What's the question? Why don't you hold my hand anymore? David says, here we go again, bro. No, I'm serious. Bro. I'm so serious. Like, all right, continue. So it's David. I don't want to get my whole video blocked, so I'm not going to play it. But, you can imagine, it's a boy and a girl, a guy and a girl, and they're talking. Now, a lot of people have come out and just stated and truly believe that the girl voice, the female voice in the song, is Celeste. And I will say, it does sound just like Celeste Rivas Hernandez. However, I probably sounded just like my friends growing up when I'm 14. You can't necessarily know for sure if it's Celeste's voice, but it does sound just like her voice. And he's going back and forth. And then he goes on these interviews with, the likes of, Zach Sang or whoever, and talk about the interlude a little bit. And Zach Sang is reading from papers. It's clear that he has talking points that he's got to ask. So he's like, what about this interlude? What about Itami, right? That means pain, right? So Zach Sang is focusing on Itami and focusing on this alter ego and focusing on the interlude, which many people believe is a real recorded conversation between David and Celeste. And why don't you hold my hand anymore? Oh, here we go again. No, I'm serious, bro. And she's like, I'm so serious. And he's like, all right. Continue. And she's like, I haven't even held your hand. And dude, shut up. He's like, sorry. She's like, you're not even funny. I swear you're not funny. He's like, my fault. I'm done. And she's like, okay, well, let me think. He's like, bro, I'm about to set a timer. She's like, oh, it could have been yesterday. He says, wow, yeah, I'm glad you remember that. She's like, thank you. He's like, I hate when you say period, bruh. That's I got a question for you now. Why do you think we met? Why do you think we met? And, he's probably recording this whole conversation for his stupid little album that literally now no one cares about. Have you ever heard of the invisible string theory? She says, oh, yeah. He said, okay, exactly that. So basically we met. She says, we met. She says this because we were supposed to meet, and we're connected because we're supposed to be connected. It's kind of like I loved you before I existed, and I'll love you even when I die. And he's like, word. And she's like, yes. He's like, okay. And she's like, but yeah. But it's weird. It's strange. It's unpredictable. So don't leave me, please. All right. I love you. There's other parts of the album where people have said, they think that it's Celeste's voice. But Itami is this thing that caused that. Let me let you listen to David one more time explaining this.
He's the one that is making me withered and feel these emotions like grief and pain and confusion. He's the one that is weaving his way into my relationships and ruining them and inducing trauma and things like that.
He's like, once people hear the album, it's going to click for everyone at the same time. This Itami, what he did.
But once they hear this interlude and hear the project, it all kind of connects and it's kind of going to click for everybody at the same time. I'm so excited to see what that kind of looks like in real time.
Once you hear the interlude about the invisible string theory, okay, once you hear this, it's all going to click. Okay, maybe it's all going to click because we all recognize that voice. Alter ego characters. I guess they're all going to be him. This Itami guy is like a murmurer, okay? And David is also, he's got DID basically. He's got DID. He's got one personality, Itami. He's a killer. He's a murmurer. And then he's got the other personality. Now, obviously, as the disclaimer in the video says, I'm not a doctor. I'm not diagnosing David with the DID. We had people earlier in here saying DID don't accept him in the community or whatever. I'm not saying he does have DID for sure. I'm just saying, the way he describes this is as if he does have many alters and some of them cause him harm and pain, and he kind of blacks out and doesn't remember. So that's what I meant by that.
Looking into the murmurs of the murmurer. Okay, so, I mean, listen. I think there's a DSM-5 diagnosis for something like that, but I'm not a doctor. I don't know.
And a big part of that manga was an evil version of me named Itami, which means pain in Japanese.
Now here,
And he wears his blindfold.
he said he wrote a manga. Okay, so he said he wrote a manga himself. He made up this whole world himself. And he said in there, I have an alter ego named Itami, which means pain in Japanese.
But I'm not a doctor. I don't know.
And a big part of that manga was an evil version of me named Itami, which means pain in Japanese. And he wears his blindfold, and he's basically an agent of chaos and kind of my alter ego. And the story of the manga went like I was a detective, and there was an evil version of myself that would kind of come out at random moments, kind of like Fight Club with Tyler Durden. And he would commit the crimes that I would have to solve as the detective.
So he wrote about things in this album like heartbreak, stuff he had no idea about at the time, but then they ended up coming true. Prophetic, he said. He said, I'm always...
So that was Itami, okay? And he also said something else. Let me just make sure I get these important points here. Okay, this is going back in my video. And the reason I'm using my own video is because I know that this stuff is in this video, so I can at least like jump to the right parts to some extent. But this is like about 10 minutes earlier in that same video.
I guess the most important part is that my Discord likes it. My Discord is my core fan base. So, if someone's not vibing with someone in Discord, I'll be like, I sneak it in the Discord and leak it myself.
He talks about this ghost of a girl that he killed. He talks about an alter ego, Itami, having victims. He's a cult leader. I'll just put some clips in here.
I get carried away by the cult members of Itami's cult. So Itami has gained a name for himself, and he has these followers now that are agents of chaos like him. And
Itami gains a name for himself, and he's like a cult leader, and all of his followers are now agents of chaos. Okay, got it.
And where the blindfolds, that signifies that they're being controlled by him. And the red string that they kind of wrapped around these trees and moved around my body are symbolizing the Korean ideology of the invisible string theory. Entire aesthetic and my entire being is like withered. My entire being.
What does it mean to be withered?
So the entire aesthetic of this project is returning to the dust. A rose grows from the dirt, and then it also decays back into the dirt. So
the entire aesthetic of this project, returning to the dirt. But he's talking about a rose. Y'all remember the Withered album has all this white roses getting splattered with red substance. And don't forget, his first two EPs, which he was trying to make as albums, but the label or the management company was like, no, like, you're not going to do that as an album. Those also were flower related. The first one was called Petals to Thorns, and the second one was called The Lost Petal, like a flower petal. And then this third one that actually ended up being the album was called Withered, and it has all the imagery. Let me pull up the Withered album cover. Okay, this is the Withered album cover. The like album art is, look, he's laying in a field covered in thorns, wrapped in thorns. And he's got this red string around him right here. Remember the invisible red string theory? He's got the red string wrapped all around him. And these white roses, these ones over here seem to be in perfectly fine shape. But the three roses in David's shadow here, and the three more over here, or two more over here, maybe 5 total roses here. These and the ones that are in his shadow look withered. They look like something wrong with them. But these over here that are in the sun, those are fine. And, it's like David. So this is the album imagery. It is very much these flowers, it's him, it's the red string, it's the thorns. The thorns are actually cutting right where the amputation marks are. That's interesting. And where anywhere there was a wound or any harm on Celeste, looks like there's some thorns. That's interesting. But look, here's David doing album art. This is all about white flowers. Okay. This was the whole thing. And it was always going to be the theme, because the first album was Petals to Thorns. The second one, or EP, was Petals to Thorns. The second EP, which was his second attempt to make an album, was The Lost Petal. And then finally Withered comes out, but it's about a withered rose. He even says it in the interview we just listened to. The whole aesthetic of the album is about returning to the dust and the dirt, and the rose falls and it comes back, and
I sneak it in the Discord and leak it myself.
He talks about this ghost of a girl that he killed. He talks about an alter ego, Itami, having victims. He's a cult leader. I'll just put some clips in here.
I get carried away by the cult members of Itami's cult, so Itami has gained a name for himself, and he has these followers now that are agents of chaos like him, and they also wear the blindfolds, and when they wear the blindfolds, that signifies that they're being controlled by him. And the red string that they kind of wrapped around these trees and moved around my body are symbolizing the Korean ideology of the invisible string theory. Entire aesthetic in my entire being is like withered, my entire being.
What does it mean to be withered?
So the entire aesthetic of this project is returning to the dust. A rose grows from the dirt, and then it also decays back into the dirt. So with this project, the way I made it, the way I'm talking about the themes on this project, the way I'm talking about my emotions and my feelings, it's all returning to the dirt with this. It's like a entire life cycle.
Should have stayed in the
As
dirt.
it turns out, this album wasn't even David's first or second attempt at making an album. He had already tried to make an album 2 times ever since he got signed. He worked on making an album for 2.5 years, but he said the one that ended up actually being his withered album only took about, what did he say, a week or 10 days to make the whole album?
Song a day for 2 weeks. We sat there for 2 weeks and made a song a day, and we tried our best to beat the first song, beat the second song, beat the third song, and just make the best music possible.
And so it was that he was
Okay.
trying with these
So those were things I wanted to remind y'all of. From it, Celeste is the withered petal, Small Artisan said. Petal to thorn. She was starting to turn on him. Lost petal. She became a runaway. Withered. Autopsy described her as basically withered. Oh my God, girl. That's his idea of the best music possible. Girl, they call anything music. That is true. Okay, so one of the things that David said when he was describing Itami in the clips we just watched was that Itami weaves his way into David's relationships and induces trauma, and Itami ruins the relationships. Then there is, possibly Celeste's voice in the interlude. Okay. And that brings us to, and I want to remind y'all, Celeste Rivas Hernandez's left eye was missing. Her left eye was gone. Nobody knows where the eye went. Now, people are saying maybe the eye got eaten by bugs. Maybe it, just dissolved. Who knows what happened to it, but the eye wasn't there. Okay. And also on the left side, Celeste did not have the left ring finger or the left pinky. They were gone. They were dismembered, and they didn't find them on the scene. They were just nowhere to be found. So she didn't have the ring finger and the pinky finger, and I don't think they've ever recovered them. Now, we did show, on my last live stream about this, how it, is possible that David had a finger and he was wrapping it up or whatever. But this is where true crime with strategic eyes' theory comes into play, because there is a Japanese manga, and we already know David likes those. He even wrote his own one where his alter ego, his evil Asian of chaos, alter ego, cult leader, personality, murderer, not only harms other people and kills them, but also harms David, like himself, and ruins his life as well. And this is, okay, so there's a mini series that was based off the manga. So let me bring up, wait, hold on. Let me see. Hold on. I'm just trying to get my sources all together. David talks about the flowers 14:30. Did we already watch this? Let me just check. We might already do this. I just want to make sure we got them all.
Thorns and the lost petal are what I wanted my life to be. It's what I wanted my life to be. Withered, the album we actually end up getting, is my life, he says. It is his life, Withered.
As I said before, I view myself as this rose, very beautiful, but can stab you, can hurt you with the thorns and with the withering process.
I'm very beautiful, but I could stab you and hurt you with the thorns. Oh, okay. Got it.
His life, Withered.
As I said before, I view myself as this rose, very beautiful, but can stab you, can hurt you with the thorns. And with the withering process, withered is kind of like the decaying and the withering away and the ending of the life cycle of this rose, kind of signifying the ending of an era. I want there to kind of be like a battle of good and evil between me and Atami at some point to signify the ending of the era.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for watching.
He wanted Itami and him to signify the end by having a battle of good and evil. Girl, what? Okay. All right. So here's the manga without further ado. Now, we have talked about this MPD Psycho before, but it was very briefly. MPD Psycho is short for Multiple Personality Detective Psycho. Okay. It's a Japanese manga series written by Eiji Otsuka and illustrated by Shao Tajima. MPD Psycho is a very successful series, having sold more than 4 million copies in Japan as of 2007. It was originally published from 1997 to 2016. So it's like a graphic novel, like comic book manga. It originally published by then 1997 to 2016, and later by NA Dark Horse Comics, June 2007. The series follows a police detective suffering from multiple personality disorders. So remember, Itami is a detective. Remember, there's like he's doing the crimes and solving the crimes. It was adapted as a live action television miniseries in 2000, and that's where I really want to direct your attention. But let's just read the plot of the original real quick. This character, Yosuke Kobayashi, is a detective and is on the case of a serial killer who dismembers his victims. Y'all, it's so specific and it's so on the nose. The killer later sends Yosuke's girlfriend's dismembered body, but somehow, because it's, a comic book, she's kept alive. So the girlfriend's body shows up, but she's dismembered, but she's somehow still alive. Yosuke, the main character detective guy, hunts down the killer. But in so doing, he loses his sanity and he develops dissociative identity disorder. In the process, with the two main personalities being Kazuhiko, a cool-headed detective. So this is the David, the David Burke, the D4VD. That's the cool-headed detective. And then there's Shinji, who is a psychopath. After being placed in prison for murdering the killer, so he killed the killer, Yosuke is released and works for an independent detective agency. So he gets out of jail. Maybe David thinks he'll get out of jail easily and work for a detective. Later, serial killers are appearing with barcodes on their left eyes. Which Yosuke, the main character, the detective, also has a barcode on his left eye. Why? Yosuke investigations lead him to believe he is not who he thinks he is, and his two personalities have existed since childhood. During the case known as Lucy 7, Shinji, the killer, gains control of the body and disappears. Later, it's found out that there is an organization behind the barcode. So there's a greater organization behind all of this. Machi investigates and learns that These people are just programmed personalities, and they are genetically created so that they can merge into a joint personality that's expected to greatly resemble that of Lucy, a legendary serial killer. It was revealed there are multiple personalities that exist within Machi's sister, Miwa. So they all got DID. They all fucked up. Okay. Whatever the case may be. So this series, it was very long. It ran for years, and it was adapted into a mini series. Okay. And this is what I'm about to show you is not real. It's not true. It's not, a real depiction. I'm just telling y'all before I pull the picture up because it does appear to be a little graphic, but it is a DVD cover for the miniseries that came out in 2000. And as you can see, there is a white flower growing out of the skull of a victim. Okay. Again, that wasn't real. That's not real, but it does look a little gory. MPD Psycho miniseries. Okay. This is multiple personality detective Psycho. Kazuhiko Amamiya returns. This is a 2000 Japanese 6-episode horror crime television series based on the manga that we just learned about. Now, if you will recall, David said he created the manga where it's Itami and David and one's a detective, but he's solving his own crimes. Bitch, somebody already wrote that manga and it's been around since 1997, about 30 years. It originally aired in 2000. It has a surrealist bent, and according to Jim Harper, the author of Flowers from Hell, bears little similarity to the average made-for-TV detective thriller. So this was a kind of first-of-its-time thing. The plot is similar to the beginning of the manga series, but does not relate to the incidents of Lucy and Gakuso Company. The series takes place in the final days of the Showa era. Yosuke Kobayashi is a detective assigned to a homicide unit. He saw his wife unalived by a serial unaliver named Shinji. From the shock of the incident, he developed multiple personality disorder, which I believe now is called dissociative identity disorder, and he becomes someone else. He becomes someone else, Kazuhiko. Soon after, he manages to hunt down and kill his wife's unaliver. Now, a series of unalivings has started, and the suspect is claiming to be Shinji, but Shinji is dead. Remember? Shinji died. He got killed because he was the one that killed the girlfriend. So now there's still murders happening, but they're saying Shinji is doing them. Shinji's dead. I don't know if I saw True Crime with Strategic Eyes pointing out this next part. Maybe he'll watch this video. Maybe he's in here right now. If he is, shout out to him. I want to look at some of the episode names. You remember this is a six episode mini series? Look at the episode. The first episode is called what? Memories of Sin, Drifting Petals. What is with all this flower stuff going on? A sadistic, this is the plot line of the first episode. A sadistic criminal is turning his victims into human flower pots. Okay. Like kind of how David described the Withered album as a beautiful flower that blooms and then dies and returns to the dirt. You know, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. That's why Christians have burials, because you're supposed to go back into the dirt. Well, here we are with the flower imagery and going back to the dirt all at once. Okay. He was turning the victims into human flower pots. Detective Amamiya Kazuhiko is called out of early retirement to work on the case. So this is the guy with the DID. His new wife goes missing, and a mysterious cult, like maybe the Illuminati girl, I don't know, with barcodes over their left eyes, tattooed on their eyeballs, this mysterious cult surfaces to wreak havoc on the city. So how many David bingo? Get your David bingo card out. Get your withered bingo card. Sadistic criminal. Yes, Itami. Victims into human flower pots. Yes, withered. It's the flower imagery, the returning to the dirt in the interview. The detective is called to work on the case. I don't know if this is related to David, but his new wife goes missing and a mysterious cult with barcodes tattooed on their eyeballs surfaces to wreak havoc on the city. Celeste's eyeball was missing. I'll say that. And people are saying, well, it was because of her body was just so decomposed that the eyeball, well, then why didn't the right eyeball go too? Just the left one, just so happens to be the same eye that this cult. What else do we have in common with the David interviews? David calls Itami a cult leader, and he says that he has followers in the cult. And he also said that he's going to continue inventing new personalities, and the way that he's going to kill Itami off is a battle of good and evil? Huh. Second episode, how to create a world. Again, just like David created this Itami world. He said it. I created this world where Itami is the one that does the this and the that. Now, this second episode, how to create a world, is a brutal serial unaliver that does something I'm not even going to speak of. And y'all can pause and read if you want to. Appears there be a copycat crime from 5 years earlier. Well, guess who else appears to be copycatting other things he heard from and heard about? David! He said he wrote this manga. Bitch, this manga been around since 30 years. Cult is David's Discord. He said it's a dark blank and warned, oh my God. The author also wrote the Kurosaki Delivery Service. Maybe I'm getting ahead of you, which is about what you think it is. No, I only heard of Jujutsu Kaisen is the other one I'm going to talk about. But apparently, and I didn't know this, I'm not in the manga world and I don't intend to become in the manga world. I'm not the target audience for it, but shout out to y'all that like it and watch it. Apparently a lot of the manga and the Japanese anime like style, graphic novels, cartoons, whatever you want to call it, have to do with brainwashing and DID and multiple and dissociative and personalities. And apparently that's a very common theme. Cults and brainwashing and stuff is a very common theme. I didn't realize that. People are also saying Tokyo Ghoul. He did have a Discord. Yeah, it was very active. And there was a lot of stuff going on in there that appeared to be possibly criminal, but I don't know. So this is the second episode. Now, the first episode was called Memories of Sin Drifting Petals, which I found that petals was crazy. This one is a brutal serial unaliver is doing something brutal, but it's apparently a copycat crime from 5 years earlier. All of the women have barcodes tattooed on their eyeballs. So I'm wondering, is the barcode in any way related to the that all these celebrities have? I don't know. The victims are under some sort of hypnosis, kind of like Itami's members. They purchased the surgical quality knives that are used to unalive their own, the day before they get murdered. And the detective's wife wanders into the city in a trance. He discovers someone from his past might be involved in the crime wave. The third episode is called Life is a Constant Double Helix. That's like DNA spiral. The detective, the lead main character, and the police team are investigating the mass self-unaliving of 40 girls. What is Mark Garagos and TMZ over there trying to make us think this was? Accidental OD, a self-unalive. Maybe she did it to herself. Okay, got y'all. Got your number. Don't worry. The detective goes, and from a high school, he is investigating a high school mass unalive. He goes undercover as a high school teacher. Well, that sounds like a David fantasy if I ever heard one, to find out why and learn more about a new generation of bar coders, many of whom are students at this militaristic high school. That's where they get MK'd. Okay, the fourth one is the crushed ant. Perfectly severed body parts. Perfectly severed body parts with numbers cut into them are discovered in a field. Oh, kind of like the field David was laying in. Okay, got it. Got it. In a nearby arcade, two rival youth gangs battle each other, and the wife is taken prisoner by a gang leader. Okay, remember the wife that ends up dead? The police chief tries to put together more of the detective's hidden past with the assistance of a one-eyed snuff film maker. Girl, get your bingo card out. Because what are people implying could have happened to Celeste is that it was filmed. David's old YouTube is entitled Ant is Blind. Oh my God, are you kidding me? And this is called The Crushed Ant? The police chief tries to put together more of this detective's hidden past with the assistance of a one-eyed snuff film maker. Okay, number 5. Episode number 5 out of 6 is Coronation of the Cursed King. Cult members spontaneously combust when the barcoder network is infected. Y'all better not get no neural link. The burn victims, okay, so the cult members that have that barcode on their left eye, they just bust into flames one day. The burn victims are taken to the local hospital where a lonely employee's cyber girlfriend tells him to unalive people. The detective and his team lock down the hospital and strange things happen on the secret 13th floor. And then the 6th episode is called Soaring Souls and Human Bondage. The police department denies that the barcode case ever existed, and they try to cover it up. The police deny that certain things ever existed, and the barcode cult tries to cover it up. So now we see a situation, even in this manga, that, yeah, the lead detective guy is a murderer. Yes, he is. But the cops are all in on it. Other people are in on it too. But only one guy gets used as the scapegoat. The crazy one alleged. The 3 remaining members of the investigation team decide to continue working on the case on their own. The police chief's entire family dies under mysterious circumstances. The lead detective guy with the MPD tracks down the baby stealer to a remote cabin in a snowstorm for a final showdown, a battle of good and evil, and to recover his own missing child. Girl, this is too much. It's so on the nose, but then some stuff's so out of left field, but it's like, is it really? Is this life imitating art? Was that art imitating life and they keep doing the same things over and over? I'm going to say it again. I don't think David acted alone, if he did it at all, innocent until proven guilty, but I don't think he did it alone. Now, it would end up coming out that that barcode on the left eye was supposed to symbolize to the reader, to the audience, that meant that was somebody who had been programmed with that personality by that cult, by that gang. Programmed. They had been programmed. Now, this is something that people have speculated for years. The CIA has done with Project MK Ultra, and it's gone by different names as well, but it's a mind control program where they're basically trying to build very obedient super soldiers that can be deployed for any reason, and some of them are called beta, MK Ultra beta program is the sex kittens. And so this would be the ones that are supposed to be honeypots, the ones that are supposed to marry and collect intel, et cetera, et cetera. But in the manga, in that comic, if you had the barcode on the left eye, it was supposed to indicate that that person had been programmed with a mind control programming. Did David, I have a question, program himself, or did he assist in his own programming? Because I want to remind you, he allegedly admitted to being addicted to gore videos. Remember that? David allegedly wrote about enjoying those type of videos and resurfaced messages on Discord. The remarks are circulating on social media in the wake of TMZ's report that investigators are now viewing David as a suspect. This was put out when? Like November last year. The teenager's body was discovered in the trunk of the Tesla. I used to be addicted to watching gore vids, he wrote in one message, allegedly, as caught by No Jumper, after noting that he was first exposed to the content by watching a violent video when he was 14 years old. And it was a cartel video, violent cult. Was David also programmed by a violent cult, just like that manga that David didn't write? He said the first time he ever saw the G-O, R to the, the other letter after that comes is the E, content was a cartel video. A violent cartel video in which somebody lost their life. So, did that have something to do with it? I don't know. But David said it himself. I use the videos, that content, specifically on purpose for a reason. It's not because I think it's fun. No, I use it to desensitize myself. I remember laughing at one point. It got bad, man. The series of messages dates all the way back to 2023. And you know what happened in 2023? That's when the prosecutors, the cops, they alleged that was the year David started having an illegal relationship with, at the time, 13-year-old Celeste Rivas. Now, here are the actual screenshots of the messages. This is apparently supposedly from David himself. I love gore. I use it to desensitize myself. I used to be addicted to watching them. Live leak was bookmarked. I don't even know what the hell that is. I do not look it up. I'm telling y'all, don't look that up, whatever it is. This is where I'm starting to wonder, Chris. Is David, yeah, he did it, but also, just much like Diddy, wasn't the very tippy top. Maybe he was doing stuff for other people. Chris said he probably filmed it for higher up freaks like him. That's the thing, y'all. You got to remember, what is this gore addiction? Is they become literally addicted. If you ever knew anybody that was addicted to something, what is the primary marker? What is the primary marker of addiction? How do you know for sure someone is addict? What's the definition? The definition. They start doing stuff for the substance that decreases their own quality of life. It infringes, it impedes their life. They can't function normally anymore. That's the definition. It so affects your life that you're doing stuff you would not normally do, but for the seeking out of the substance. The substance, and we know this is definitely documented, there are certainly content addictions. Corn, O to the F, people become addicted. David said it, apparently, allegedly, in the Discord. He was addicted to gore videos. So if David could become addicted to that, couldn't other people? And if there are people addicted to that, there's only so many execution videos that are on Reddit. What do we know about just from watching like the Gideons of the world and the predator poachers of the world? We know that these freaks get in group chats of sorts on restricted and encrypted and whatever pipelines, and they start trading material. And when they run out of material, they get kicked out of the group. So they got to start making it. This is all well documented. The only thing that's not well documented is that David specifically was a part of these groups. Okay. Apparently, people are saying he might have had a drug addiction too. I don't know if that's true. I haven't heard that. He changed his brain chemistry by watching it. So it's like, it starts to actually answer a lot of questions that we had. Like, how could someone be so stupid? Well, I mean, how could someone be so stupid is a bad question if you're talking about an addiction. It changes your brain chemistry. And look, listen, I am of the belief that addiction does not control your actions. It makes it very difficult to say no. It makes it physically painful to stop. And there are withdrawal symptoms. And I do think, there's certain substances I do know that if you just cold turkey, you could die. So I'm not trying to say it's just willy-nilly free choice all everywhere. But it is. You choose to pick up the bottle. Yes, you do. Itami doesn't take over. Sorry if I'm saying something that's gonna hit a little close, but you know it's true. You choose to drive to the liquor store. You choose to turn the car off. You choose to walk in and pick the bottle up. You choose to check out you choose every step, and then you choose to put it up to your mouth. Nobody's holding your mouth open and dumping it in there. And if it is, that's not addiction. That's something else. You need to call the cops. But I'm very sympathetic to the fact that you can't just quit cold turkey stuff. Some stuff you can die. So I understand you should seek out help and treatment if you want to. And if you don't have to, girl. It's a free world. But I don't want anybody to hear me talking about an addiction and think I'm saying, oh, poor David, he couldn't help it. No. That's a choice. However, it's a different question than how could he be so stupid to leave that there? Maybe he wanted to keep looking at it because he had an addiction. The same way the person struggling with alcoholism gets too drunk to go to work the next day, and eventually they get fired. Eventually, the boss is just like, how can you be so stupid as to keep missing work? We had a huge meeting this morning. It's not the person's stupid. It's that they have addiction. It brings a lot more stuff into it doesn't justify it, but helps explain the landscape. If he truly had addiction that he had been since he was 14 years old, watching people die, lose their life on camera, maybe that didn't do it anymore for him. Maybe he was part of a larger network, maybe this barcode programming network. Maybe we're going to start finding out that there's a much more sinister Hollywood underbelly. And me, for one, I don't think David should be the only one going down for it. That's my opinion. Now, along those lines, I found a little article from Cyberdrive. This was posted the month after Celeste's body was found. Why teens can't look away. Gore scrolling, desensitization, and graphic violence on social media. Violence has become a scroll, not a scene. I don't know what that means, girl. Violence used to belong to late night news and R-rated movies, but now it shows up between dance challenges and dog videos. Teens aren't necessarily even seeking it out. It finds them. Well, what did David say? He saw his first video of someone becoming unalive when he's 14 years old on Reddit. He didn't go to facesofdeath.com or something. He wasn't on Rotten. He just was on Reddit and he saw a video, 14 years old, he says. Teens aren't seeking it out, it finds them. On social media platforms, violent content spreads as easily as any trend. Graphic fighting clips circulate to group chats. Right, people fighting with each other. Even that's why I don't watch UFC if I can help it. I mean, I've seen, a fight or two from time to time, but I can't even watch it because it's gore. It's people getting brain damage right before our very eyes live. It's insane. Horrendously disfigured. For what? Graphic fight clips circulate in group chats. Gore accounts hide behind harmless sounding usernames. Even when social media companies remove explicit posts, new ones appear within hours. It's easy to assume that this is in the fringe, but it isn't. For young people, shock is part of the feed. From gore accounts to fight clips, graphic violence on social media has quietly become part of the teenage internet experience. A recent report from the Heat Initiative found that 42% of teens say they regularly see violent or graphic content on Instagram, often in their main feed. A decade ago, you had to search to find these videos, but today, algorithms bring them to you. One violent clip gets shared, drives engagement, and the system promotes it further. Research shows that posts that spark outrage, especially those about violence, generate more reactions than positive ones. That's why a single fight video can reach thousands before a moderation team even sees it. And I know y'all remember last year we saw that one girl get to death on the train. The very next day, I log into Instagram and Charlie freaking Kirk is getting right there. I never wanted to see that. It was so viral. I opened up Instagram or Twitter and I just saw it. Thankfully, I only saw it once. But that was just out there. It used to be like, okay, that's illegal to even own a VHS of something like that. Maybe not necessarily because it was like a live event or whatever, but like people used to trade like VHSs of this stuff that it was so bad you couldn't even get anybody to run it on TV, and it's just inundating us. The same engagement rules that push dance trends or memes now amplify violent media. And when everything in your feed competes for your attention, graphic violence on social media becomes another form of content creation. The question isn't why it's there, but why do the teens keep watching? It isn't just curiosity. In interviews across schools, teens describe seeing violent videos so often that shock turned into habit. Okay, could this be what happened to David? Not making an excuse, but I'm just trying to figure out how we ended up here. Again, he's innocent until proven guilty, but some say they would just click just to see how bad it was. Others said they stayed because everyone else was watching. One kid said, "Doesn't even bother me anymore." That single sentence says more about, quote, desensitization. Why did David watch it? To desensitize himself, according to these screenshots. When exposure to violent content becomes part of daily life, emotional reactions fade. Not because teens don't care, but because constant violence online leaves them with no room to process it. Repeated exposure triggers subtle forms of aggressive behavior, even if teens never act them out offline. Psychological models like the general aggression model suggest that aggressive thoughts, which is cognition, and angry affect, which is an emotional reaction, often arise automatically in response to stimuli before conscious reflection or awareness takes hold. So you get these aggressive thoughts, these kids, and angry affect, they become emotional and react emotionally before they can even make a conscious thought upon themselves. Most parents imagine disturbing materials live in dark corners of the internet. But in reality, it's just right there in plain sight, inside Instagram group chats or private DMs. I've told y'all this before. Put a 6 in the chat if you remember. I got added into a gore group chat against my consent. Somebody was being so nice to me, like online on Twitter or whatever, and then put me into this group chat with, I don't know, maybe one other person, maybe more. I don't know. I don't remember. I kind of blocked it out. I don't even actually remember what the content was. But when I finally opened the group chat, they had sent maybe 2, maybe 5 different videos of what appeared to be people no longer among the living. And then there was court, I don't remember. I don't want to think about it. But definitely I got added into that group. I was like, what the fuck is this? I did. So I'm reading some of y'all's comments. I did, leave the group chat instantly, but what the hell? So they'll just add you in. Teens describe being added to chats specifically where violent acts are sent like jokes. One person said, I got added to this Instagram group chat and they were sending this material, like that material. And these kids were in my grade and they're obsessed with it. They go on the dark web and watch people get unalive together. What the fuck? And then they give an example. It's not actually a video. And even if it were, I would not click it. And it is blurred out. So don't worry. But this is like a factory worker gets sucked into machine and blank, blank, blank is literally blank, blank, blank. Okay. So clips like these blur the line between shock and entertainment. Graphic violence and violent videos circulate quietly on social media platforms, teaching young people to scroll past violent acts without really having too much of a reaction. They're being mass desensitized, y'all. Is this barcode on the left eye programming at a mass scale. The casual circulation doesn't just spread media violence. And this too, right? The factory worker, like it's an accident. Charlie Kirk, oops, assassination, accident. Girl on the bus, it's news. Factory worker, it's news. But when it's the cartel doing it, that's when or it's a snuff film. It's similar to how playing violent video games can, and people wanted to deny this for years, but it's undeniable at this point, y'all. If you want to deny it, go do it somewhere else. It's similar to how playing violent video games can desensitize players through repetition, but this time the game involves real people, real pain, and real desensitization. Every major platform claims to limit harmful content, but they care. And then this article gets into the fact that they care a lot more about censoring nudity than this gore. And I personally think they should censor both. I don't think kids should be just like seeing S-acts either, just casually scrolling on their screens. Making human life disposable. Exactly. Reddit isn't for children, but children are on there all the time. I don't even like it in the horror movies either myself. Agreed. So David said that he was desensitizing himself on purpose. We've seen that can absolutely desensitize people, and we have the doctors weighing in on it. David talks about the flowers. He talks about having alternate personality. And then there's another Japanese cartoon manga called Jujutsu Kaisen. And I got this information from True Crime with Strategic Eyes as well. And he talks about the plot of that Jujutsu Kaisen. There's a very powerful demon. And he, I guess, gets his finger cut off or something. And then the main character, the main protagonist of this manga, consumes the cut off finger of the demon. And all of a sudden he becomes possessed by the demon himself. The demon takes over his body all because he ate the finger. Also, the protagonist of Jujutsu Kaisen has multiple personality disorder, aka DID, because he swallows the finger of a legendary demon that takes over his body. And he was missing his left pinky and ring finger. Okay, my God, has David ever had an original thought in his freaking life? Stinker said, I want to know why he wanted to desensitize himself. To keep himself from feeling emotions toward the wrong things is what he said. Shout out to the entire household at Cookbo23, who all gets to hear my voice while she fixes dinner, or he. Shout out to the people cooking their dinner for their family and their kids and driving around doing errands while you're listening to me. I'm going to look up Jujutsu Kaisen just to give y'all and again, that information I just told y'all came directly from True Crime with Strategic Eyes. Okay, so here's the wiki to it. Japanese manga series written and illustrated by Gege Akutami. It was serialized in a manga magazine, Weekly Shonen Jump from March. Okay, it's chapters. The story follows a high school student, Yuji, as he joins a secret organization of jujitsu. So, okay, we have cult again. We have another cult. We have another cult in this manga. Okay, so here's look at that. Oh, God, I'm done. I'm done. Look at the hand. The story follows a high school student, Yuji Itadori, as he joins a secret organization of sorcerers to eliminate a powerful curse named Ryomen Sukuna, of whom Yuji becomes the host. So he becomes the demon's host. Jujutsu Kaisen is a sequel to the previous work, Tokyo Metropolitan Curse Technical School, which was retroactively titled Jujutsu Kaisen Zero following the release of Jujutsu Kaisen. Jujutsu Kaisen is licensed for English language release in North America by Viz Media, which is published since the manga in print since December 2019. Digitally English, 2 novels. Okay. Synopsis. In Jujutsu Kaisen, all living beings emanate a power source known as cursed energy. Okay, well, no, I don't live there. All human beings where I live emanate a power known as light energy, and then if they want to pervert it, that's their choice. Anyway, this is someone else's universe over here. This arises from negative emotions that naturally flow throughout our body, this cursed energy. Most people cannot control this energy, and as a result, continually release it. The accumulation of uncontrolled cursed energy gives rise to curses or noroi. This is Scientology, girl. These are freaking archons. Malevolent spiritual entities driven to harm humanity. These curses often manifest as grotesque monsters like Mark Garagos, drawing on traditional Japanese folklore such as onryo, vengeful spirits, yurei, ghosts, and yokai. So remember whenever Itami was talking about a ghost girl? Jujutsu sorcerers are individuals capable, so like these are like the Jedis, right? Those are capable of controlling the flow of cursed energy within themselves. So they're like highly advanced yogis, basically, if you would put it on a world where everyone's not cursed. Allowing them to use it, granting them inhuman abilities, and minimizing passive release. So this sounds like a perversion of the Shakti energy. Put a 7 in the chat if you've ever heard of the Shakti energy concept. It kind of sounds like a similar concept, except this is like a perversion of it, because the Shakti energy is a life force. It's a creation of life. It's where it's like how you know if something is alive or not is because it has Shakti. It's imbued with this animating principle of life. And it's supposed to be benevolent. It's supposed to be of creation and compassion and love and things like that, although it can be used in any way because we have free will. But here, they're saying it's curse. Oops, hold on. They're saying it's curse. But there are people who can master it. Now, in the Hindu philosophy, those people would be people who have mastered yoga. And I'm not talking about yoga like what you do at the studio. Okay. That's like 1/8 of what yoga is. So if you've only ever done yoga at a yoga studio in the United States, you've done about 1/8 of what yoga is. So these yogis can master it. That's kind of the point. That's kind of the point of studying these teachings. But in this is like a perversion of it. It's like it's cursed energy. And these, like, basically I'm going to call them Jedis, but they call them jujitsu sorcerers. Those are the ones who learn how to navigate this and control the flow of energy within themselves. And it also gives them like kind of like superpowers and minimizes the release of the energy. You don't have to release it. You can keep it stored up and transmute it. There's a lesson here somewhere. High-ranking Jedis or whatever and powerful curses can refine this energy to perform cursed techniques. These are specialized abilities that often are unique to the individual or inherited through family bloodlines. Okay, well, I do know that David's parents are standing 10 toes down, so I wonder if they're in the cult. An advanced form of these abilities is known as domain expansion, in which the user conjures a pocket dimension that traps their target inside. Within the domain, the user's techniques are significantly enhanced. Sorcerers are governed by the Jujutsu Society. It's a secret hierarchical organization tasked with protecting non-sorcerers from curses. This sounds just like other stuff I've studied. And managing the battles against them within Japan. Its central governing body, the Jujutsu headquarters, is led by the Jujutsu commander, appointed by the prime minister upon nomination by 3 major sorcerer families, the Gojo, the Zenin, and the Kamo clans. It operates educational institutes like Tokyo and Kyoto Jujutsu high schools. They train new generations of sorcerers. Kind of sounds a little bit like Avatar, too. The Last Airbender. There's like themes of that here. These schools are directly controlled by the Jujutsu headquarters, and their principals are appointed based on recommendations from these major sorcerer clans. Okay, what's the plot? Well, hold on. Let's just read this last sentence. Despite its noble mission, the Jiu-Jitsu Society faces criticism because it has a strict adherence to tradition and disproportionate influence of elite sorcerer clans, leading to several internal conflicts. Okay, so what's the plot? There's this high school student, Yuji. He has unnatural physical strength and athletic ability, so he's talented and he gets recruited. Okay, this is how MK Ultra also works. I don't know if y'all have heard of the GATE program, but there's a whole rabbit hole there. One day at this special school, his friends attract these demons by unsealing a rotten finger talisman. Okay, missing finger from the demon. Yuji swallows it because he wants to protect another student. And then he unwittingly becomes host to a powerful ancient sorcerer named Ryomen. The leaders of the Jiu-Jitsu Society intend to give him an exorcism, but they saw that he had ability to retain control over his body. His teacher is the strongest sorcerer, brings him to Tokyo for training. The teacher has the students exorcism postponed until he consumes all 20 of Sukuna's fingers. I guess he had 4 arms, enabling Sukuna's complete destruction through his death. Meanwhile, the group of intelligent, cursed spirits plot an elaborate attack according to their ideals. Their group is led by them. It's getting a little convoluted here. On Halloween, the group launches their plan. Okay, the aftermath, the higher-ups reinstate. All right, I'm not going to do a spoiler alert if y'all want to go watch that, but he's eating demon fingers, getting possessed by a demon. Celeste lost the same 2 fingers as that demon. Girl. What is going on? Oh my God. Oh man. I hope he didn't cannibal the eye and the fingers too, girl. Me too. Anyway, shout out to True Crime with Strategic Eyes for pointing out the similarities between the David story and these 2 different mangas. There's apparently also 2 other different mangas that also have something about a ghoul and something about something else. So I might have to look into those. I don't know. I might even watch the little mini series if I can stomach it. The one that has 6 episodes. I don't want to read years worth of comics, but I might be able to handle 6 episodes. I have to see if I can somehow try to get it. Because I think that it's very interesting how much in common this David story has with these mangas. And I think, and I wonder if I go through and read them or if I go through and watch some of them myself, I might be able to piece together some more similarities. He did a live stream where he showed the hand tattoo. He said it said Jesus, but he knows it up close. Pretty sure that was on Strategic the other night. And the thing too with the hands, especially right here and sometimes right here, it looks like I wrote on my hand. I didn't, girl. That's just my blood. That's just what my hands looks like. Anyway, this right here, if you have wound here in literature, I don't know if y'all know this, I majored in English. If you have literature, a lot of times wounds to this part of the hand will be associated or equivocated with the Christ stigmata, the nails through the wrists. So a lot of times like curses or blessings will come through the palm in literature. And it's like a literary trope. I don't know if y'all saw this or not. I have little alligators on my ears. It's like, I don't know if you grew up in Louisiana, did y'all ever clamp lizards on your ears? I know that is country. That is a redneck thing to do. But we were clamping those green lizards on our ears and they would bite down and we would walk around like this and scare our moms. Anyway, this kind of reminded me of that, but it's little alligators. Anyway, somebody said Death Note, another popular Japanese cartoon, also has a detective doing the crimes. Okay. Do I think he wanted to get caught? At this point, could have been. He probably got her in a jar of water somewhere. Somebody said, well, I don't know, girl. They got her at the morgue, I hope. Jiu-jitsu is what he wrote inside the hand. What if it said jiu-jitsu? Jiu-jitsu is what he wrote inside the hand After he kept the victim finger, he made a TikTok rapping jujitsu finger, sick mind. I wonder if he made a statement. I don't know if that's true or not, but I've seen that theory. Wow. I think done it to sever the string theory connection. Could have been. Yeah, the stigmata. Yup. Seems like he has been caught. Seems like he wanted to get caught. I mean, look, listen, this is another thing that I was talking to my fiance about the other night. And again, this is not to make an excuse for David. Like, he needs to rot underneath the jail and probably get the death penalty if he did what he is accused of doing. But you have to remember, I mean, the average age of my chat is like above 30 years old for sure. This is a 21-year-old. And when all of this stuff happened, he was like barely 20. So yeah, his birthday was in March. So he would have been, just turned 20 when all this happened. And then before that, the planning and the leading up to it, 19, 18. I mean, this has been going on. He met Celeste apparently when he was about 18 and a half. I shouldn't say met. Let me be very clear. The prosecutors allege that David started having an illegal relation, if you know what I mean, with Celeste when David was about 18 and 5 months, and Celeste was 13. So it all started when he was a kid. It's still too old. I'm not trying to make an excuse. I'm not trying to say it makes it less bad. I'm not trying to say it makes it okay. What I'm saying is the way y'all and I would deal with a situation. Well, first of all, we wouldn't do what he did or what he's accused of doing, but the way that we would deal with it ain't the way that somebody whose frontal lobe still has 7 years to develop. David's frontal lobe is still not developed, most likely. And so you have to, I find myself, forgetting this as well. He is an adult. And so in compared to Celeste, yeah, he's an adult and he always was. But that doesn't mean that he's handling the situation like an adult would. And I imagine that at some points, Itami takes a freaking nap and David Anthony Burke, who grew up in New York and Texas and was homeschooled, the scared young man is somewhere, wakes up and like, and then Itami got to take back over, if I had to guess. Now, they might have killed David off. But if that's true, if it's true that, Itami, takes a break or a nap every now and again, and then David is allowed to run free with his thoughts real quick, I bet you it's a lot of pressure. I bet you it's a lot to keep up with. I bet you it's a lot to bear. And for people who were raised to have morals, I do find that a lot of times people lose their way and they come back to the morals they were really raised with. Now, these parents maybe didn't raise them with no morals, but let's just go with what's been presented to us, the public, as if it's true for real quick. He was raised in a not only just religious, you can be raised in a religious house and they suck, but like it does seem like they tried to raise him with morals. That's what they presented to us. Again, they maybe aren't. Maybe they lying. Maybe they just trying to present a front. Maybe that's not his parents, although he does look like that mom. I believe there could, all that to say, I believe there could be parts of David, alters if you will, that rear their head up from time to time and think, I would rather just pay for what I've done and stuff, like the guilt. Y'all remember reading The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe? They made all of us read it. Edgar Allan Poe writes this story called The Telltale Heart. This is a classic American literature. Okay, everybody that's majored in English had to read this shit about 10 times. Edgar Allan Poe wrote this short story called The Telltale Heart. And put a 9 in the chat, or 8. Put an 8 in the chat if you remembered Telltale Heart. Telltale Heart, Edgar Allan Poe is a very prolific kind of like horror writer, precursor to like a Stephen King and stuff like that. And he wrote these stories. He wrote novels. He also wrote short stories, and he had one called The Telltale Heart. And so in the story, the protagonist had murdered someone and buried him underneath his floorboards. He pulled up the wood of the floor and put the body under the floorboard in the house. And the night, I don't know if it's the night of the murder or, later on, but like eventually he's laying down, the murderer, the protagonist, the main character of the story. He's laying down in his bed one night, he's trying to go to sleep, and he hears this was like a tick, like a boom, like a beating heart or a tick of a clock or something. And it gets louder and louder and louder. And it's like torturing him. And the whole story pretty much is just like the torture of the weight of the crime, knowing that the body is just right there, knowing that it could get discovered, knowing that he did it. And there is something to that in human psychology. You can desensitize yourself as much as you want. But unless you're like an actual psycho-sociopath, and that's only like 1 to 5% of the population, the guilt starts to weigh on you, whether you ever come out and admit it or not. I think all of us have been in church, singing glory to the Lord or, the mosque or the synagogue or whatever, wherever you may go. And you're thinking about something that you did 15 years ago you shouldn't have did. And you're like, God, I feel bad about that. I tore up the neighbor's flower bed and no one ever found out, something, whatever, little thing. Whatever the case may be. I had a party and my parents never found out. Now that didn't happen. I never had no parties because I don't want anybody in my house. But, stuff like that. You just little guilt, little nagging guilt. Now, even if someone's absolutely depraved, I can imagine there's a little bit of telltale heart going on. You know what I mean? Maybe not. David did an interview and said his family was cursed. Well, I rebuke. My family's not cursed. No, we worked off all our curses. Okay. I've taken dips in the Ganga. All right. I've done things to decurse my family. I ain't paying for nobody's curses. We done being cursed over here. It ended with me. It's done and over. There's no curses on my family. I tell you that. And that's on the name of the one true God. All right. That's in the name of the one true God. So ain't nothing and nobody higher than that. Death Note starts when he's 17. He ends up working with his dad to find the killer, but the killer's himself. And the series ends with a good versus evil showdown. Not 100% this case, but some things are similar. It definitely does seem like David has been getting his cues of this fake world he's made up from anime, manga. I do understand and know that y'all are sorry, I was reading an email. I do understand, that manga. Maybe I'm saying the wrong manga. Oh my God. Okay. So Flojo TV sent me another picture I want to show y'all. And this is from a music video. Okay. So I don't even know if these are real. I don't know if this is something that, this is not real crime scene for sure. This is from a music video before I say, put this up here. But it does show that he did have, at least at one point, access to what appear to be different types of weapons. And this is his Itami setup here. His Itami shirt, or sheet or something. Shout out to Flojo TV for sending that over. What else? David prefers the electric chair. Hold on. What did you just send to me, Flojo? Okay, let's see what Flojo just sent. This is 21 seconds long, this clip. Here we go.
You said, where we going? Into the forest. I remember the last time a YouTuber went to the forest. Hey, Logan Paul. Hey, my boy. That surgery will probably give me mental problems. I already got them. Give me more. I already electrocuted. I'm trying to get electrocuted for it. I think that's the best way to go out. Electric chair.
He said, I think that's the best way to go. I'm trying to get electrocuted for real. I think that's the best way to go out. Electric chair, he said. No, I rebuke. Okay, what's this? This video is taken by someone in David Discord. She's talking to Celeste on her computer. Celeste isn't the one recording. She is in the call, who also David sent help. Second video is David talking day after body was found in Discord. Okay, all right. So thank you, Zach. Zach sent me some videos. They're not private videos. Look like they were public. He just collected from elsewhere, from Discords and stuff. I don't know what's in them. There's 4 of them. So I'm going to watch them first before I bring them up for everybody to view. Anyone who has a weak soul can be overtaken. Well, that don't apply to me, girl. No, I got I got top tier, top 1% strong soul. You get people learn when they try to mess with me. They do learn. What manga persona gets electrified? I don't think any get electrified, but it's just like he's just saying that's the best way to go. And they're like, let's not give him the death penalty. Me personally, I'm not opposed to the death penalty. I used to be like no death penalty for anyone, no matter what. But then I started learning about these sick psycho freaks that harm children. They harm vulnerable people. They keep people as slaves. They hurt people. They hurt people, and then they get let out on the street and they do it again. And I don't think that we need to have them around. I don't think we need to have them around. I think there are some people who do need to just go ahead and get took out. That's my belief, in my opinion. Now I'm actually a pretty strong supporter now at this point of the death penalty for PDF files. I think that if you harm a child in that way, then you should be just executed. Your genes shouldn't be allowed to go on. If you already have kids, cool, great. Okay. I guess we won't execute them, but like get too crazy and maybe we might have to start doing that too. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that I should be punished for the sins of my father or my mother. So I don't really like that type of thing, but I do think that these people do it to their own kids a lot of times. And then those kids grow up to do it to other kids and their own kids. And it is like kind of something that's got to be bred out. That's just my opinion. Yeah. And why are we paying all our tax dollars to keep them alive? Like we don't have enough things to do. Like we don't have enough things to pay for. Like we can't even afford a gallon of milk and a carton of eggs, but we got to keep David alive. I don't know. Like now David's innocent and he should be presumed innocent till proven guilty. But just looking at what I've seen, it's just giving ew. You know what I mean? Like right now, my verdict on David is ew. It's ew. That's what I will say. All right. Thank you so much to Stevie for the £1.99 super chat. Big love. BJ, thank you. Shout out to you. Thank you, Pikachu. White chrysanthemum is grief and death in Asian cultures. Good to know. Thank you for the $2 super chat. Thank you, Lindsay, for the $4.99 super chat. I would so want you to represent me if I were in trouble and you were practicing. Yes, I would be doing probably a good job if I were practicing, but I do not represent clients. But I think I'm doing some good over here, not representing clients. I think I'm doing more good here than I could probably as a low-level associate in a weird law firm cult. But thank you so much for the $4.99. Speaking of cults, thank you again for the $1.99 super chat. A cult and cult always. It does kind of always go back to, isn't it weird? Thanks so much to Free Speech for the $2 super chat. Wonder if kids have stories about David before homeschool. I want somebody from his church youth group to come out. You know, he said he used to sing in the church choir. I want to know, you know, what was he singing? I'm scared. If he was singing like that, he might have got kicked out. You got to actually be able to sing in the church choir. Thank you for the $2 super chat. I want everybody that knows David to come out and talk. Thank you so much to Angie for the $2 super chat and purple hearts. There are a lot of innocent people on death row, but at the same time, I'm starting to feel like even that's propaganda. Like how many actual people are on death row versus how many people are innocent? I doubt it's a lot. Now, that isn't to say that people haven't gotten put on death row who are innocent, but it's not no whole bunch. There's so many safeguards in place on death penalty cases that it's like almost impossible. However, I'm not denying there are some people on death row who are innocent, but we're getting to the point where it's like, you need to have the DNA evidence. You need to have the picture evidence. If you have DNA evidence, picture evidence, every type of evidence, eyewitness testimony, multiple victims, like multiple murders, multiple unalive, or multiple, you know, at some point, I do think you can get to where you know for sure the person's not innocent. Now, that isn't to say that everybody's doing stuff how I think they should. I absolutely know that the cops are corrupt and the police are corrupt, but like, goddamn, we got to keep every single one of them alive because I don't know. I don't know. These are my thoughts. But what you're saying, the dance editor, is why for a very long time I was completely opposed to the death penalty for any reason under any circumstance, because sometimes people who are innocent get sentenced to death. But here's the thing. I'm going to speak only for myself. If I were somehow wrongfully convicted, if I were innocent and I were wrongfully convicted, I would rather have the death penalty. I don't want to rot in the jail for the next 60 years. That's for damn sure. I'm ready to go. Girl, I'm packed up, prayed up, and ready to go up. I'm only speaking for myself. If I'm wrongfully convicted and it's either sitting in the jail, the prison forever, or maybe 20 years and then I get to peace out, I'm peacing. I'm goodbye. Peace. Anyway, that's all I really had for this one. In the meantime, facts ain't defamation. Neither are opinions. Love you, Mina K. Bye.